Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Ethereal here. Today we're diving deep into another explosive high school DxD what-if scenario. What if Issei had the Heavenly Crown gear? If you're into alternate universes, badass Issei transformations, and twists that change everything, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because I drop new stories you won't want to miss. Let's set a little challenge. Can we hit 50 likes on this video? I know the DxD fandom's got that kind of power. Let's go dragons. Alright, grab your headphones, sit back, and get ready to see Issei like never before. The night air at Kyo Academy carried the sting of winter and the low, electric hum of something ancient and angry. In the faint light from the city, Issei Hyodu stumbled backward across the rooftop, breath sharp in his chest. Blood trickled from his temple, sticky and warm, painting his white uniform red. Above him, Rainier smirked, her black wings slicing the air. He tried to crack a joke, he always did in moments like this, but his throat was raw, words lost in the taste of copper. There was only the cold, the fear, and the knowledge that this time he wasn't walking away. You humans really are stubborn little ants, Rainier purred, crouching. Her spear of light buzzed with fatal promise. But don't worry, darling, I'll make it quick. Yeah, that's what the last supernatural psycho said, Issei muttered, half to himself, half to the empty sky. He wished Riaz would appear, all red hair and impossible confidence, but she was gone, driven off, or worse. His knees buckled, Rainier stepped forward, her shadow long and monstrous. You know, I always did like bold guys, she said, but you're just unlucky. She drove the spear toward his heart. Time snapped. Issei saw the glint, felt the chill. In that instant, his life flashed not before his eyes, but in 1,000 alternate colors, birthdays and ramen dinners, and that one time he tripped and faceplanted in front of the entire kendo club. Then came the pains, not cold but hot, not a light but a crown, searing, blinding, crashing into the world like a meteor. Something ancient screamed. The world went white. When he came to, the sky above Kyo was ablaze. The clouds glowed, twisting gold and violet. Rainier staggered back, shielded her eyes, her spear shattering to sparks. A crown of light spun above Issei's brow, a ghostly circlet, impossible to touch but impossible to ignore. Chains of pure radiance lashed out, snapping through the air, pinning Rainier and her minions where they stood. On the far edge of the rooftop, Kiba, Akino, and Kaneko froze. Riaz, her crimson hair whipping in the wind, stared wide-eyed, not in triumph or relief but raw, unfiltered fear. Issei blinked, the pain was gone. In its place, power, not the wild, burning rage he'd always associated with heroism, but the chilling certainty of command. Whoa, he croaked. He felt every heartbeat on the roof, every breath, every ounce of fear and ambition and regret. It was intoxicating, terrifying. He didn't know what to do with it. Rainier screamed, but the chains held. She tried to summon another spear. Her hands trembled, her power fizzled. Issei staggered to his feet, the crown pulsing in the air above him. He looked at his hands. They glowed not with fire but with something older, authority itself. Kiba broke the silence. President, what is that? Riaz's voice was thin, brittle. That is not boosted gear. That's not any sacred gear I've ever seen. It shouldn't be possible. Akino took a cautious step forward, electricity dancing in her palms. Issei, can you hear us? He opened his mouth, then closed it again. The crown, it wanted something. It whispered not in words but in feelings. Command, rule, ascend. He forced a laugh. Is it weird if I ask what's going on? Because I feel like I should be more dead right now. Riaz forced composure, stepping between him and Rainier. Issei, listen to me. You need to control it. Whatever it is, don't let it. But the crown didn't want to be controlled. Not yet. It wanted a declaration. Issei turned to Rainier. She snarled, fangs bared, wings flapping against the invisible bonds. Let me go, you freak, she spat. You think you're special, you're nothing but. The crown's light intensified. Rainier dropped to her knees, eyes wide with terror. Her minions followed, as if forced by some ancient law. Issei staggered, clutching his head. 1,000 voices shouted in his mind, kings and conquerors, martyrs and monsters, all demanding he take his place, all offering him the world. He shook his head, desperate for something, anything normal. Hey, you should probably kneel right now, he blurted, or, I dunno, something bad happens. The command echoed across the rooftop. It was not a suggestion, it was a law. Even Kaniko's cat ears twitched, her eyes narrowing as she struggled to resist the compulsion. Rainier whimpered, What are you? Issei blinked, Me, I'm just Issei Hayao, pervert, not king material, trust me. But the crown disagreed. It shone brighter, flooding the night with impossible light. From the shadows below, more figures appeared. A priest in a white coat, flanked by an angel whose wings shimmered silver blue. They watched with unreadable faces, their eyes glowing with recognition and fear. Akino's eyes widened. President, those are. SHH, Rias hissed. She raised a trembling hand, calling her demonic power to the surface. Issei, whatever you're doing, stop, you're drawing them here. But the crown would not be silenced. It burned, memories and visions crashing through Issei's mind. A palace of flame, a throne of skulls, a crown made not of gold but of judgment. The voices returned, sharper now, claim your throne or perish, the world remembers its kings. Issei's heart raced. He looked at Rias, her worry, her pride, her fear. He looked at Kiba, blade drawn, ready to fight and die. He looked at Akino, poised between love and lightning. For once he understood, power was not just about fighting, it was about choice. He clenched his fist, the chains binding Rainier trembled. Hey Rainier, he said, his voice calm, colder than he'd ever felt. You hurt my friend, you tried to kill me, I could destroy you right now, but… The crown flickered, gold shifting to blue, then back. But I'm not a monster, I'm not a king, not yet anyway. With a thought he released her, the chains evaporated. Rainier collapsed, sobbing, half-mad with relief and terror. Ria stared at Issei as if seeing him for the first time. Who are you? He tried to smile, but it felt wrong. Still me, I think. A new presence joined the rooftop. The priest, a tall, handsome man with silver hair and an air of melancholy, bowed deeply. The angel at his side knelt. Issei Hayao, the priest said, bearer of the heavenly crown, we have waited centuries for your awakening. Issei blinked, excuse me. The angel's voice was soft, ancient. The heavenly crown, the lost Longinus, last seen in the hands of the god-king, destroyer of worlds. Your existence threatens the balance. All factions will come for you now. A chill ran down Issei's spine. He wanted to run, to hide, to pretend this was a bad dream, but the crown would not let him. It thrummed, hungry. Ria stepped forward, shoulders squared. He is under my protection. Any who threaten him will answer to House Gremory. The priest smiled sadly. We do not wish to fight, not yet, but understand, Devil Princess, your friend stands at the center of a new age. The war is coming, and he will decide its shape. He turned to Issei, eyes heavy with prophecy. Do not trust the crown, it is a gift and a curse. In a shimmer of white and gold, they vanished. Silence. Issei's legs gave out. He slumped to the roof, gasping for breath. The crown dimmed, fading to a faint glow above his head. Kaniko knelt beside him, stone-faced. You okay, senpai? He forced a grin. Just another Tuesday, right? Kiba offered a hand. You did well, Issei. Whatever that was, you controlled it. Akino's voice was soft, but for how long? Rias knelt, eyes burning. You changed everything tonight. The world won't ignore you anymore. Issei looked up at the sky. The clouds had parted, a single star shining overhead. Somewhere deep in his soul, the crown whispered, find my throne before they do. He shivered. For the first time, he understood what it meant to be chosen, not for greatness, but for war. But even as the weight of destiny settled on his shoulders, Issei managed a lopsided smile. Hey, at least I didn't die a virgin. The peerage groaned, even the crown seemed to sigh. Some things, it seemed, never changed. The night sky bled into dawn by the time Issei stumbled home, the faint glow of the crown still lingering above him like a halo only he could feel. He moved through the quiet streets in a daze, shoes sticky with dried blood, mind thrumming with fragments of memories that weren't his. Wars waged in ancient tongues, palaces fallen to fire, kings crowned and uncrowned in worlds lost to history. He almost laughed. How was a guy supposed to think about boobs at a time like this? By the time he reached his front door, the adrenaline had worn off, leaving behind nothing but aching bones and an annoying sense that something huge, something irreversible had just happened. He fumbled with his key, cursing softly, then paused as the crown pulsed. For a heartbeat, the world felt like it was holding its breath. His mother met him at the door, worry etched into every line of her face. Issei, you're late. She stopped, eyes darting to the dried blood at his temple and the torn collar. What happened? He forced a grin. Sports club got a little out of hand. She frowned, clearly not buying it, but she let it go, ushering him inside, fussing over his injuries with a tenderness that almost made him break. He let her, mumbling excuses, all the while fighting to keep the crown's radiance dim, though he noticed his mother kept glancing at the space above his head as if she could sense something, even if she couldn't see it. Finally, alone in his room, Issei collapsed onto his bed. He squeezed his eyes shut and tried to will away the memories that weren't his, tried and failed. The crown hummed like a living thing, restless in its new host. He drifted into sleep, and in his dreams he stood atop a mountain of skulls. Armies knelt before him, angels, devils, dragons, humans, all chanting in 1,000 tongues. The crown above him flared, not gold but blood red, its weight nearly crushing. When he looked at his reflection in a pool of dark water, he saw not his face but a stranger, older, sharper, cruel. The voice echoed as always, "Rule or be ruled, kings do not beg." He woke gasping, sweat chilling his back. When he sat up, the crown's glow intensified, and for the briefest moment he could see faint, spectral chains snaking across his walls, anchoring him to something vast and unseen. He shuddered, grabbing for his phone, desperate for something normal. The screen flickered to life, 30 unread messages, a half-dozen missed calls. Most were from Matsuda and Madohama, typical pervert group chat banter, peppered with memes about Ria's senpai and big devil milkers. But the last message was from an unknown number. "Come to the old school building, alone, Rias." His heart hammered, of course, no way this was over. He showered, tried and failed to make his hair behave, and pulled on a clean uniform. As he glanced at himself in the mirror, he almost didn't recognize the boy staring back. The same brown hair and clumsy smile, but his eyes looked older, stranger, rimmed with flickers of gold. He headed out, ignoring his parents' questions, moving through the streets like a ghost. The air itself felt different, charged and heavy, as if every shadow might hide a pair of wings or a sword. Hugh Academy was deserted, the sun just beginning to crest the rooftops. He made his way to the old school building, the one no one but the occult research club ever entered. The air around it felt thick with wards and power, the kind he'd never noticed before. Now, with the crown awake, he saw them, glimmering runes and barriers, devils, script woven through the bricks themselves. He knocked once, twice. The door swung open before he could touch it a third time. Inside, the clubroom was shadowed but warm. Ria stood at the far end, arms folded, red hair glowing like a fire in the dimness. The rest of the peerage was there, Kiba at her right, Aquino at her left, Kaneko perched on a sofa, legs swinging, eyes fixed on Issei. He swallowed, trying to look casual. Hey, nice weather we're having." No one smiled. Rias gestured for him to sit. He obeyed, feeling the crown's weight more acutely than ever, like an invisible hand pressing his shoulders down. Rias was the first to speak. "Issei Hyodo, you activated a sacred gear last night, a powerful one we believed was lost to history." He scratched the back of his neck. "You mean this weird glowing crown thing? Yeah, kind of hard to miss. What is it exactly?" Aquino leaned in, voice soft. "It's not in any of the records, not even among the original 13 Longinus, but my mother spoke of a legend, the heavenly crown, said to grant authority over all things, not just power but command itself." Kiba's expression was taut. "With that gear you could order armies, bend reality, even the Satans might fear you." Issei winced. "That's not really what I signed up for. I just wanted to look at boobs and maybe not die young." Kaneko's ears twitched. "Too late, senpai, you're famous now." Rias' eyes narrowed, searching his face. "You must understand, Issei, this changes everything. Normally, when I reincarnate a human with evil pieces, they become my servant, my pawn, but with the crown—" He cut her off, surprising even himself. "I'm not anyone's pawn, not anymore." The words hung in the air, sharp as a blade. The crown pulsed, chains rippling through the room, settling around Issei like a mantle. For a second, even Ria's power seemed to waver, as if the world itself was considering his claim. Rias met his gaze, and for the first time since he'd met her, she looked uncertain. "What do you want, Issei?" He hesitated. There were 1,000 answers: to live, to be normal, to not die, or worse, become some tyrant from his nightmares. But the crown whispered, "Negotiate, do not kneel." He took a breath. "I don't want to be your slave, but I don't want to fight you either. I'll join your peerage if that means I get to live and maybe figure out what this thing is, but only if it's on equal terms." Kiba's jaw dropped. Aquino hid a smile behind her hand. Even Kaneko looked up, curiosity flickering across her face. Riaz let out a slow breath, equal terms. He nodded, feeling bolder than he had any right to. No commands, no orders, we're partners. For a heartbeat, the air crackled with magic powerful enough to level the building. Ria's aura surged, then faded. She smiled, slow and dangerous. You drive a hard bargain, Issei. Very well, partners. She extended her hand, he took it. The room shook as if reality itself was shifting to accommodate their deal. A flash of crimson and the chessboard materialized, evil pieces glowing with the power of the Gremory clan. Riaz plucked the pawn from the board, her fingers trembling. Normally I would reincarnate you with this, but I suspect the crown won't allow you to be anyone's pawn. She smiled wry. Let's try anyway. She pressed the piece to his chest. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the pawn erupted in gold fire, melting into the crown's light. Issei's body convulsed, pain lancing through every nerve. He screamed, but the crown sang, a song of ancient kings, of empires rising and falling, of choice and consequence. When the pain faded, he knelt on the floor, gasping, the crown blazing above him. The pawn piece hovered in the air, changed, warped, its red coloring shot through with gold. It drifted back to Ria's hand, and she stared at it in awe. You altered the piece. It's never done that before. Aquino approached, cautious, as if nearing a wild animal. Are you all right, Issei? He managed a weak thumbs up. 10 out of 10, would not recommend. The room relaxed, tension breaking like a spell. Kiba grinned, shaking his head. Only you could break the rules of Devil Society on your first day, Issei. Aquino patted his shoulder. You'll fit right in. Kaneko handed him a juice box without comment. He took it gratefully, sipping, the crown's weight receding a little with every mundane, ordinary gulp. But the moment was shattered by a knock at the door. It was gentle, polite, and radiated power that made even Riaz stiffen. The door swung open and 2 figures entered. One was tall, with sharp, golden eyes and the easy confidence of someone used to command. The other, shorter, wore a lab coat over a school uniform, silver hair gleaming. Azazel and Michael. Riaz stood, every muscle taut. Governor Azazel, Archangel Michael, to what do we owe the pleasure? Michael smiled serenely. We come in peace, Lady Gremory, our interest is in your new friend. Azazel grinned, eyes sparkling with mischief. Issei, nice crown, very punk rock, mind if we chat? Issei's mouth went dry, the crown pulsed, defensive. Riaz stepped in front of him. You're not taking him. Michael raised his hands. We only wish to speak. The balance of the world may well depend on it. Azazel flopped into a chair, grinning. So, kid, how does it feel to be the biggest target in the supernatural world? No pressure. Issei tried to muster a joke, but the crown thrummed, defensive. Honestly, I'd rather be playing video games or napping. Azazel laughed. Good answer. Michael's gaze was gentle but piercing. The heavenly crown is a relic of a world before ours. It was lost when heaven fell and the old god died. Its power is dangerous. Many will seek it, few will understand it. Riaz nodded, eyes fierce. He is under Gremory protection, any who challenge that. Azazel held up a hand. Relax, princess, we're not here to fight yet. Michael's smile faded, but know this, Issei, the crown's history is stained with blood. Every king it crowned, it eventually destroyed. Rule carefully or the world will pay the price. He turned, pausing at the door. The church will send its agents, so will others, be ready. With a shimmer of power, the 2 were gone. The clubroom was silent. Issei slumped in his seat, the crown a faint glimmer above him. Riaz placed a hand on his shoulder, soft but firm. You're not alone in this, Issei, we'll face it together. He looked at his friends, their determination, their loyalty. For the first time, the crown felt less like a curse and more like destiny. He managed a crooked grin. Well, if we're all doomed, we might as well enjoy the ride, right? Aquino laughed. Kiba rolled his eyes. Kaneko finished her juice and looked at him with something almost like respect. Outside, the sun rose over Kyo, bathing the old school building in gold. And somewhere, deep in the world's hidden places, new eyes turned toward Issei and the heavenly crown. The first thing Issei noticed when he woke up wasn't the crown of light. He'd grown used to its gentle pulse above his head, like a sunbeam no one else could see. No, the first thing he noticed was the silence. Not the usual soft snores from his dad or the hiss of the old radiator, real, absolute, kingdom-wide silence. He sat up, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Weird. His mom's voice floated up the stairs, too sweet, too polite. Issei, darling, would you like pancakes or waffles for breakfast? Was she calling him darling, his mom, who usually just yelled for him to get his lazy butt in gear? He stumbled into the kitchen to find his dad already in a suit, reading the paper, posture a little too stiff. His mother set a plate in front of him, loaded with pancakes, whipped cream, and strawberries arranged in the shape of a crown. He blinked, thanks. His mom beamed, anything for you, honey. His dad folded his paper and stood, bowing slightly. I'm off to work, make us proud, son. Issei's fork froze midair. His parents had never bowed to him in his life. He glanced up just in time to see his mother's eyes flick toward the glowing, invisible crown. He could swear she almost saw it, the way her gaze slipped sideways like she was fighting a memory she didn't own. He finished breakfast in silence, awkwardness pressing at his chest. Every move he made seemed to command attention. Even the neighbor's cat, perched on the wall outside, watched him with wide, respectful eyes. He hurried out, bag over his shoulder, half expecting trumpets to blare. No trumpets, but as he walked to school, people stepped aside for him in the street. One of the local toughs, a beefy senior who'd shoved him into a locker last semester, caught his eye, then gave a hurried bow before scampering away. By the time Issei reached the school gates, he was sweating, heart racing. This was too much. He wanted to duck his head and disappear, but every time he tried, the crown pulsed, his back straightened, and students bowed or parted before him as if he were royalty. He scanned the crowd for Matsuda and Madohama, desperate for something normal. There they were, arguing about swimsuit calendars as usual. He jogged over, waving. Hey, losers. They both turned, froze, then bowed. Issei nearly tripped over his own feet. What are you doing? Matsuda blushed, then straightened, rubbing his head. Sorry, man, dunno what came over me. Did you, join the student council or something? Madohama adjusted his glasses, peering at Issei. You seemed different. You get taller or more kingly. Issei almost laughed, but the crown's presence made it impossible to shrug off. You guys don't have to bow, seriously. They looked at each other, then nodded like he'd just given a royal decree. Issei groaned inwardly. As they walked to class, Issei felt the weight of every eye in the building. Girls whispered and giggled behind their hands, but it was different than usual, not teasing or scornful, but odd, almost reverent. Even the teachers seemed off. Homeroom started with the math teacher, usually a grump, bowing and offering Issei the best seat. Madohama leaned over, voice low. Okay, seriously, did you win the lottery or something? Or are you dadding Ria-senpai? Before Issei could answer, the classroom door slammed open. The whole room stilled. In walked Ria's gremmery, red hair shining like wildfire. The room held its breath. She smiled, only for Issei. May I borrow Hayao for a moment? The teacher nodded so vigorously his glasses fell off. Issei shuffled his books, trying to look cool, and followed Ria's into the hallway. The moment the door closed, she dropped her smile, looking tired. Issei, you're leaking power. He blinked. I'm what? She glanced around, then fixed her gaze on him. The crown's authority, it's bleeding into the world. Anyone without supernatural training is affected. Devils, humans, maybe even angels. That's why people are acting so servile. He swallowed. How do I turn it off? She shook her head. No idea. The only beings who ever mastered the crown were gods and kings. Maybe try thinking less kingly thoughts. He tried to imagine himself as a nobody. Nothing happened. In fact, the crown flared brighter. Ria's groaned, pinching her nose. Just try not to command anyone by accident, and if you feel it flaring, come to me or Aquino will help anchor you. He nodded, wishing for once that his powers were something simple, like super strength or laser eyes. As he trudged to his next class, the whispers followed. He caught fragments. Did you hear Hayato has a sacred gear? They say even the teachers fear him. I heard Ria-senpai visits his house at night. He tried to keep his head down, but the more he tried, the more people seemed drawn to him. During lunch, it got weirder. He'd barely sat down in the cafeteria when a group of first-years approached, clutching a battered soccer ball. The tallest bowed, hands shaking. Hayato-senpai, would you honor us by joining our soccer team? As captain, of course. Issei nearly spit out his milk. Captain, I've never even played. But the crown pulsed, the boy's eyes glazed for a second, then they cheered as if he'd accepted. He watched helpless as his reputation snowballed. By the end of lunch, he was club president of 3 new clubs, all founded on the spot, student council honorary advisor, and the new captain of the kendo club. Kaneko just nodded, completely unbothered. He slumped at his desk, overwhelmed. "Issei, you all right?" Kiba asked, leaning against the window, sunlight haloing his hair. The girls across the room swooned. Issei groaned, "If one more person bows at me today, I'm gonna snap." Kiba smiled, but his eyes were serious. "You know, there's a story my old master used to tell, about a king whose every wish became law until he lost himself, forgot what it meant to be human." Issei shivered. "That's not gonna happen to me, right?" Kiba shrugged. "Depends on the king." Before Issei could answer, the intercom crackled. "Hyodo Issei, please come to the nurse's office." Kiba raised an eyebrow. "You hurt?" Issei shook his head. "No clue, maybe they need a new king for the infirmary." He wandered down the hall, ducking past more bowing students and one particularly enthusiastic group of third-year girls. The nurse's office was empty, except for the faint scent of flowers and the sound of quiet sobbing. Issei peeked around the corner and saw her, a small, blonde girl in a white habit, tears streaking her cheeks. She clutched a rosary so tightly her knuckles were white. He hesitated, then knocked gently. Hello." She looked up, startled. For a moment their eyes met, and Issei felt a strange pull, like a thread binding their fates. The crown thrummed, almost humming with curiosity. I'm sorry," she said in halting Japanese, bowing so low her forehead nearly touched the floor. "I didn't mean to be a bother, I just got lost." Issei smiled, trying to make his voice soft. "It's okay, you're new, right?" She nodded, brushing tears away. "My name is Asia Argento, I just transferred." He offered his hand awkwardly. "I'm Issei, nice to meet you." She took his hand and the crown pulsed. For a heartbeat, he saw a vision: Asia, surrounded by light, chains snapping around her wrists, her prayers echoing in an endless cathedral. He blinked, she looked at him, confusion and hope warring in her eyes. The nurse bustled in, breaking the moment. "Ah, Hyodo-kun, you found our new transfer student. Would you mind showing her around?" Issei nodded, suddenly glad for a normal request. As they walked the halls, Asia kept glancing at him as if searching for something. Issei tried to be charming, but the crown seemed to amplify every gesture. Asia's steps fell in time with his, her voice softened when he spoke. "So Asia, where are you from?" She smiled shyly. "Italy, I was in a church before." Issei tried not to wince. Church and devils didn't mix. She seemed to sense his discomfort. "I ran away, it was not a kind place." He nodded, struggling for the right words. "Well, Q is not perfect, but at least there are fewer angry nuns, right?" She giggled, a soft, sweet sound that made the crown's weight ease for a moment. They passed the kendo club. Kaneko waved, her face unreadable. Issei led Asia to the clubroom at the end of the day, wanting to introduce her to Rias and the others. The moment they entered, the air shifted. Ria stood, eyes narrowed, power simmering just below the surface. Akino smiled, but her hands crackled with restrained lightning. "Issei, who's your friend?" Issei squeezed Asia's shoulder. "This is Asia, she's new." Ria's gaze flicked to the rosary, then back to Issei. "A stray exorcist." Asia paled, shrinking back. Issei stood protectively in front of her, the crown flaring in response. Ria's eyes widened, but she stepped back, hands raised. "No harm meant, just be careful, Issei. Not everyone in this town is as friendly as they seem." Asia clung to his arm. "Thank you, Issei, you're different, special." Issei felt himself blush, but the crown's light brightened, filling the room with gentle warmth. For the first time all day, he didn't feel like a freak or a king, just a friend. But outside in the growing dusk, shadows gathered. Across town, in an abandoned church, Rainier stared into a broken mirror, her black wings flickering with corrupt light. Her eyes burned with hate and something new. On her palm, a mark glowed, twisted, jagged, a fragment of the crown's chain burned into her skin. She laughed, the sound echoing off cold stone. "So that's what real power feels like." The crown's command was leaking, warping her, twisting her fallen angelic essence into something darker, more desperate. Behind her, a figure moved in the shadows, eyes burning with fanatic devotion. "Rainier-sama, what is our next move?" She smiled, cruel and beautiful. "We remind Hyodu Issei that all kings have enemies, and we take what he stole from us." At Kyoto, Issei led Asia home under the fatting sun, his friends trailing behind. The streets felt less welcoming, the air charged with coming storms. He glanced at Asia, her small hand gripping his sleeve, and felt the weight of responsibility settle on him, not as a king, but as a protector. For the first time, he understood what the crown truly wanted, not blind obedience, but the courage to stand between the innocent and the darkness. As night fell, he caught his own reflection in a shop window, brown hair, awkward grin, and above his head, the faintest glow of a crown. He straightened his shoulders and walked on, Asia at his side. Behind them, the world watched and waited. Rain lashed the windows of Kyoto Academy as the last bell sounded, turning the afternoon gray and sullen. Issei huddled under the school's awning, umbrella forgotten in his locker, watching rivers of water curl around his shoes. His uniform was already damp from escorting Asia to her first after-school club, the rain soaking them both as they hurried across the quad. Asia had clung to his arm the whole way, wide-eyed at the storm, as if she'd never seen weather so fierce. Maybe she hadn't, not in the churches and orphanages of her old world. Issei found himself slowing his pace, matching her steps without thinking. Every now and then her hand would squeeze his, as if to remind herself that he was real and alive and with her. In the week since she'd arrived, Kyoto Academy had started to feel like a different place. Asia drew kindness out of people like a magnet. Teachers went out of their way to help. Students found excuses to walk her to class. But Issei could feel the difference. Where Asia's aura was gentle, his own radiated authority. No one dared tease him anymore, and the kingly rumors had only gotten weirder. Some students whispered that he was Ria's secret fiancé, others that he'd brokered a peace deal between devils and angels in the bathroom. He would have laughed if it didn't all feel a little too close to the truth. But now, with the rain, something felt off, like a storm inside his skin. The crown's light was dim but heavy, pressing at the edges of his mind. For days he'd been trying to suppress it, to act normal, but the world wouldn't let him. He couldn't even sneeze without 3 clubs asking if he needed tissues. He ducked inside, shaking off his jacket just as Kaneko padded up, umbrella perfectly intact. She handed it to him without a word, her gaze flicking to the invisible crown above his head. He gave her a grateful look. Kaneko shrugged, then handed him a carton of milk. He tried not to smile too wide. "You're the best, Kaneko." She sipped her own milk, face unreadable. "Don't let it get to your head, senpai. Crowns are heavy." He choked on his drink, but she just kept walking, white hair swaying. Issei let out a sigh, warmth blooming in his chest. Kaneko's bluntness always snapped him back to earth. He didn't make it 2 steps toward the clubroom before a commotion broke out down the hall. A crowd gathered near the old science lab, voices buzzing with worry. Issei's crown prickled, a warning. He shoved his way through, Kaneko at his heels, and found Asia standing in the center of the mob, back pressed to the lockers, eyes wide with fear. 3 upperclassmen loomed over her, anger in their faces. One of them grabbed her wrist. "Why do you always act so high and mighty, nun? You think you're better than us." Asia shook her head, stammering, "I am sorry, I didn't mean." Issei's vision tunneled, the crown pulsed, heat radiating up his spine. The world slowed. He didn't remember moving, only that suddenly he was between Asia and the boys, fury in every line of his body. The boy holding Asia dropped her arm as if burned. He backed away, face pale, eyes glazed. The other 2 followed, their anger dissolving into fear. Issei glared, voice low, "Leave now." They scrambled away, tripping over each other, the crowd parting to let them go. For a moment, the whole hallway was silent, every student's gaze fixed on Issei, reverence and terror mingling in their faces. Asia looked up at him, tears bright in her eyes. "Thank you, Issei, I'm always getting into trouble." He softened, taking her hand gently. "Not your fault, people are just dumb sometimes." Kaneko handed Asia her umbrella, then flicked Issei's ear. "Careful, senpai, crowns showing." He ran a hand through his hair, embarrassed, but Asia just smiled, a gentle warmth radiating from her. Issei led her away, feeling eyes on his back. The walk to the clubroom was quiet, the rain pounding outside matching his heartbeat. When they entered, they found the rest of the peerage waiting, Ria's packing, Akino humming as she arranged teacups, Kiba polishing his sword. Riaz looked up, relief and worry flickering across her face. Issei, Asia, good you're here. Issei sat Asia beside him. What's going on? Aquino poured tea, her usual mischief tempered by seriousness. Trouble, church agents are in town, 2 exorcists and someone else we can't identify. Kiba's hand tightened on his sword hilt. The wards caught a glimpse, fallen angel energy, warped by something else. Riaz turned to Issei, eyes piercing. Rainier, she's still here and she's not alone. The crown pulsed in response, images flashing in Issei's mind. Rainier screaming, black chains wrapped around her arms, darkness boiling behind her eyes. He shuddered. Riaz caught his reaction. What did you see? Issei hesitated, then explained, visions of Rainier, her angelic energy twisted, crown's power seeping into her wounds. Riaz nodded, face pale. Then it's worse than we thought. The crown doesn't just command, it corrupts. If Rainier's infected, she'll be unstable, desperate. Asia's hand found his, trembling. She won't hurt us, will she? Issei squeezed back, trying to sound braver than he felt. Not while I'm around. Aquino smiled, electricity sparking at her fingertips. We'll handle her together. Riaz turned to the group. We'll split up. Aquino, Kiba take the south ward. Kaneko and I will sweep the park. Issei, you and Asia stay close. If Rainier appears, call for help. The exorcists are after the crown. Don't engage alone. Issei nodded, jaw set. The rain had eased to a drizzle as they left the building, the gray sky pressing low. Asia clung to Issei's arm, her presence soothing the crown's restlessness. They walked in silence, boots splashing through puddles. Halfway across the quad, Issei's phone buzzed, a message from Riaz. Change of plans, Rainier sighted near the old church, meet us there. He glanced at Asia, who nodded, determination in her eyes. They hurried, cutting through back streets and alleys, the old church rising like a dark sentinel above the town. As they approached, Issei felt the crown surge, its light prickling along his skin. The church doors were ajar, creaking in the wind. Candlelight flickered inside. He motioned for Asia to stay back, then pushed open the door. Inside, the sanctuary was gutted, pews shattered, stained glass shattered. At the altar, Rainier knelt, head bowed, black wings twitching. Chains of corrupted light snaked from her wrists, rooting her to the stone floor. Her minions, Donasik, Midelt, and Calawarner, stood behind her, their faces hollow, eyes rimmed with shadow. The air was thick with dark magic. Issei stepped forward, crown blazing to life. Rainier looked up, lips curling into a ragged smile. Ah, the king graces us with his presence. Her voice was ragged, edged with madness. Black chains flicked in the air, each link throbbing with energy that made Issei's teeth ache. He stood his ground. It's over, Rainier, let Asia go. Rainier's laugh echoed, cold and broken. Let her go, why would I do that, when you have everything I want? She rose, the chains snapping free. Her minions moved but hesitated, eyes drawn to the crown above Issei's head. Some ancient instinct warred within them, to obey or to rebel. Rainier's eyes burned with fevered hate. You stole from me, power, destiny. I was supposed to be chosen, me. She lashed out, black chains whipping toward Issei. The crown flared, golden chains springing from the air, intercepting hers. Light met darkness with a thunderclap, sparks shattering through the nave. Asia screamed. Issei pushed her behind him, crown pulsing faster. You don't want this fight, Rainier. The crown's changing you, let it go. Rainier staggered, face twisted with agony. I can't, it won't let me, it whispers, kill the king, become the queen. She hurled a spear of dark light, but Issei's chains deflected it, the sanctuary shuddering with force. The minions cowered, but Donasik found his voice, trembling. Rainier Sama, this isn't you. She rounded on him, black chains coiling. Silence, bow before your queen. The minions dropped, forced to their knees, eyes blank with obedience. Issei's heart pounded. The crown offered power. If he commanded, they would all kneel. If he chose to destroy, none would stand. But in that moment, he remembered Asia's hand, Kaneko's quiet support, Ria's faith. Power wasn't just about crushing enemies, it was about lifting people up. He stepped forward, voice steady. Rainier, you wanted power, but the crown's a curse. It destroys its kings. Don't let it do the same to you. She hesitated, black chains trembling. He opened his hand, light swirling in his palm. I don't want to fight, but I will protect my friends, always. The crown surged, golden chains spreading through the sanctuary, binding Rainier's black ones, forcing them to the ground. For a moment, her face softened, pain and regret flickering through the madness. Asia stepped forward, voice trembling but clear. Rainier-san, you don't have to be alone. Rainier's eyes filled with tears, black chains loosening. For a heartbeat, she was just a girl, lost, afraid, desperate for forgiveness. But then from the shadows, a voice cut through, enough weakness. A cloaked figure stepped into the light, tall, with cold silver eyes, holding a glowing white cross. Zenovia Quarta. She pointed the blade at Issei, eyes blazing. By order of the church, I am here to test and, if necessary, execute the bearer of the heavenly crown. Rainier shrieked, chains writhing. The sanctuary erupted in chaos. Issei barely had time to react. Zenovia lunged, sword flashing. He dodged, the crown's chains wrapping around his arms, giving him unnatural speed. Rainier's minions scattered, the chains binding them snapping under the strain. Asia ran to Issei, but Zenovia blocked her path, blade at her throat. Stay back, exorcist, Issei shouted, voice layered with the crown's authority. Zenovia faltered, her arm trembling. Rainier staggered to her feet, black chains whipping. All kings fall, all queens rise. She hurled herself at Issei, darkness crashing against light. Issei caught her with the crown's chains, binding her gently. It's over, Rainier. For a moment, the sanctuary filled with blinding gold. The black chains snapped, darkness dissolving. Rainier collapsed, sobbing, free of the crown's curse. Zenovia lowered her sword, eyes wide. What are you? Issei helped Rainier to her feet, then turned to Zenovia, the crown's light softening. I'm just a guy, trying to do the right thing. The sanctuary was silent. Rain battered the stained glass, cleansing the wounds of battle. Asia ran to Rainier, healing her wounds with gentle magic. Rainier looked at her with gratitude and shame. Riaz and the peerage burst in, swords drawn, power flaring. They took in the scene, Rainier, broken but alive, Zenovia, sword lowered, Issei, crowned and standing tall. Riaz let out a shaky laugh, relief flooding her face. You did it, Issei. He smiled, exhausted. Team effort. Kaneko punched his arm, gentle as always. Don't get cocky, king. The peerage gathered, Asia clutching Issei's hand. The storm outside began to clear, light streaming through the broken windows. But in the distance, unseen by all, a figure in a lab coat watched from a rooftop, silver hair shining. Azazel. He smiled, eyes filled with secrets. Well, now, this game just got interesting. Morning sunlight streamed through the curtains of Issei's room, casting golden stripes across the mess of textbooks, manga, and laundry on his floor. He lay sprawled on his back, one hand thrown dramatically across his forehead, replaying the chaos of last night's battle in his mind. He'd faced Rainier again. He fought an exorcist from the church and won, though barely. He'd bound dark chains with light, talked down a broken angel, and walked away with everyone alive. If he'd woken up to find it had all been a dream, he wouldn't have been surprised. But the faint, warm weight of the crown above his head, invisible to everyone but himself, told him otherwise. And so did the ache in his arms and the new streaks of gold threading his aura in the mirror. He rolled out of bed and stumbled to his desk, flipping open his phone. The screen was lit with a flurry of unread messages from Riaz, Aquino, and most bafflingly Asia, whose texts were a blend of gratitude, apologies, and many emojis. There were also 5 voicemails from Matsuda, all starting with, "Dude, you have to tell me how you got the kendo captain's number," and ending with, "Do you think I could borrow your crown for a date?" Issei grinned in spite of himself. Some things never changed. He showered, crammed toast in his mouth, and bolted for school, waving to his mother, who eyed the faint golden glow around him with a bemused, almost proud smile. The walk felt lighter. The usual weirdness followed him. Teachers gave him deferential nods, underclassmen whispered, but it was less suffocating than yesterday. If anything, he felt a thread of hope winding through the halls, as if something had shifted for the better. Maybe it had. The occult research club gathered early. Riaz called them together in the clubroom, red hair gleaming as she laid out new wards around the room, just in case. Aquino passed out tea, her usual sly smile softened with relief. Kiba and Kaneko sat nearby, Kiba quietly sharpening a new blade, Kaneko methodically demolishing a tower of chocolate buns. Asia perched nervously beside Issei, hands folded in her lap. She glanced at him every few seconds like she was making sure he hadn't vanished. He gave her a reassuring smile. Riaz began the meeting, voice crisp. Last night, we faced a coordinated attack, fallen angels, exorcists, and indirectly, the church. The crown's awakening is drawing attention from every side, her eyes locked on Issei. We can't ignore it anymore. Issei sat up straighter, the crown flaring in his mind. What are we going to do? Hide, run? Kiba shook his head, face somber. Running won't help, every faction has eyes on Q now. Akino set down her teacup. But it's not all bad news. Rainier's defeat and Zenovia's withdrawal sent a message. The crown can protect, not just destroy. Asia spoke up, voice trembling but clear. Issei saved us, all of us, even Rainier. She looked down, twisting her rosary. I don't want anyone else to get hurt because of me. Riaz crossed the room, laying a gentle hand on Asia's shoulder. You're safe with us, we won't let anyone take you. A knock sounded at the door before Asia could reply. The club tensed. Riaz motioned for Akino to open it, her hand subtly summoning crimson power. The door creaked open, revealing a slim figure in a crisp blue uniform. Zenovia Corda stepped inside, sword at her hip, a white envelope clutched in her hand. The room stilled, even Kaniko's chewing slowed. Zenovia bowed, formal and stiff. I come in peace. I bring a message from the Vatican and a request. Riaz motioned for her to enter. Zenovia placed the envelope on the table, eyes scanning the club with cool calculation. Kiba broke the silence first, voice wary. You're not here to finish what you started. Zenovia shook her head. I was sent to eliminate the crown. After last night I have doubts. I saw what you did, Hyodu Issei. She fixed her blue gaze on him, unreadable. You had every reason to kill Rainier, but you didn't. You protected your enemies as well as your friends. Issei shifted, embarrassment and pride tangling in his chest. I just didn't want to become what they said I was. Zenovia's expression softened. Perhaps the crown chose better than the church expected. She tapped the envelope. This is an official ceasefire, conditional. So long as the crown remains at Kyo and its bearer doesn't threaten the balance, the church will not interfere. A sigh of relief rippled through the room. Riaz nodded, formal. You have our word, for now, peace. Zenovia inclined her head, but her eyes lingered on Asia. There's more. The church wants Asia back. They claim she's stolen property. Asia shrank into herself, voice small. I don't want to go back. Issei's crown blazed, golden chains flickering around his wrists. The room's air grew heavy. Riaz stepped in front of Asia, power surging. She's under my protection and the crown. Zenovia regarded the crown, her lips twitching. I see, then I will report her as lost in battle. The tension eased, but Issei still felt the crown's chains tightening. He glanced at his hands. What if one day he couldn't control it? What if he really did become a tyrant? Akino broke the silence, tone bright. I suppose this makes us allies, at least for now. Care for some tea, Zenovia. Zenovia hesitated, then nodded. Thank you. As cups clinked and conversation resumed, Issei slipped to the window, watching the clouds drift across the sun. The crown hummed in his mind, restless, hungry. He heard Riaz's voice behind him, soft and serious. Issei, can I speak with you? He nodded, following her into the hallway. The quiet there felt sacred. Riaz studied him, red eyes worried. You've changed, Issei, not just the crown. You made your own rules last night, the crown responded. Issei shrugged, struggling for words. I just couldn't let her die, not after what happened to me. Riaz stepped closer, her presence both comforting and daunting. That's why the crown chose you, I think, but you need to learn what it can really do. We're going to the site of the relic. Issei blinked. Relic. She nodded, her expression grave. A throne, an ancient artifact connected to the crown. It appeared in Kyo's East Woods yesterday, right after your battle. Issei felt the crown's weight intensify, as if it recognized the word throne. His heart raced. We're not going alone, Riaz continued. Kiba, Akino, and Kaniko will come, Asia too, if she feels safe. Asia, who had been eavesdropping from the next room, joined them, determination flickering in her green eyes. If it will help, I want to come. The group set out that afternoon, heading through the town's winding streets and into the woods beyond. As they walked, Issei felt the world shift. The air grew thick, heavy with old power. Birds fell silent. The trees grew twisted, bark shining with gold filigree. They reached a clearing. At its center stood a stone throne, half buried in the earth, draped with golden chains that shimmered with light. The seat was empty, but the air around it pulsed with command. Kiba whistled low. I've never felt magic like this. Riaz looked grave. This is a celestial throne. They're said to appear when the crown awakens, calling the king to claim his seat. Issei stared, fear and longing at war inside him. He felt the crown blaze above his head, an ache building behind his eyes. The others fanned out, examining the throne and the markings carved into its stone, ancient script, unreadable even by Riaz. Asia laid a gentle hand on Issei's arm. Are you okay? He swallowed, trying to steady his breath. I think so, it's just loud in my head. Aquino approached, curiosity sparking. Maybe you should try touching it, see what happens. Kaneko shrugged. What's the worst that could happen? Issei shot her a look. You had to say it, didn't you? But the pull was irresistible. He stepped forward, drawn as if by fate. The world fell silent as he placed his hand on the throne. The moment his fingers touched stone, the crown erupted. Light flooded the clearing, golden chains spiraling outward, wrapping each of his friends in a gentle embrace. Power surged, not wild or violent, but warm, protective. He saw visions, kings crowned and uncrowned, armies kneeling, banners raised and torn down. He saw himself standing at the center of a circle of friends, light pouring from his heart. He heard a whisper, crown your champions, king, empower them, protect your realm. Instinctively, he reached for his friends with his mind. The crown responded, wrapping Riaz, Kiba, Aquino, Kaneko, and Asia in bands of gold. He spoke, voice ringing with authority he didn't recognize as his own. You are my peerage, my partners, my friends. As your king, I share my power with you. The chains blazed, and each of them gasped as a wave of energy crashed through them. Riaz glowed with crimson light, her aura intensifying. Kiba's blade shimmered, the metal singing with new magic. Aquino's eyes sparked, lightning dancing along her fingertips. Kaneko's fists glowed with golden fire. Asia's hands blazed, healing magic surging brighter than ever. For a moment, the six of them stood in a circle, bound by gold and love, a unit greater than the sum of its parts. Then the light faded, the chains retracted, leaving only the faintest shimmer behind. Riaz steadied herself, breathing hard. Issei, what did you do? He laughed, a little shaky. I think I just crowned you all, shared the crown's power. Aquino smiled, brushing her hair from her face. I feel amazing. Kiba twirled his sword, grinning. Like I could fight 100 fallen angels. Kaneko punched Issei's shoulder, grinning. About time you made yourself useful, king. Asia hugged him, tears shining in her eyes. Thank you, Issei, thank you. Issei felt relief and joy flood him. For the first time, the crown's weight didn't feel like a curse. It felt like a gift. But the moment was shattered by the crack of thunder. The sky darkened. From the shadows at the edge of the clearing, figures emerged, dozens, maybe more, exorcists, their faces hidden by hoods, blades, and crosses gleaming. At their head, a tall man in white, his aura cold and merciless. Hayodu Issei, he called, voice echoing. By order of the church, surrender the heavenly crown and the throne, or we will take them by force. Riaz stepped forward, her newly empowered aura blazing. Over my dead body. The exorcist smiled coldly. As you wish. Swords flashed, the peerage moved as one, Kiba intercepting blades, Aquino unleashing arcs of lightning, Kaneko charging through the ranks, fists flying. Riaz cast a barrier, crimson and gold. Asia's healing magic surged, mending wounds almost as fast as they were inflicted. Issei felt the crown's power thrumming, linking him to each of his friends. He could sense their thoughts, feel their pain and determination. With every command, his will became reality. Blades slowed, lightning struck true, barriers held. But the enemy was relentless. More exorcists poured into the clearing, pressing in from all sides. At the heart of the chaos, Issei stood before the throne, crown blazing. He closed his eyes, reaching deep inside himself. I won't let you take them. I won't let anyone fall. The crown answered. Chains of gold erupted, sweeping across the battlefield, binding enemy weapons, tripping attackers, shielding his friends. One exorcist broke through, blade poised for Asia's back. Issei shouted, stop, and the command hit like a tidal wave. The man froze, eyes wide, blade falling from nerveless fingers. Riaz called to him, Issei, we can't hold them forever. He looked to the throne, it pulsed, urging him forward. He climbed the steps and sat, the stone surprisingly warm. The world shifted, every chain, every connection to his friends and enemies thrummed in his mind. He issued his first true command, not as a scared boy but as a king. Lay down your arms, leave this place, no harm will come to you. The words rippled outward, gold light flooding the clearing. One by one, the exorcists' blades dropped. Their anger faded to confusion, their hatred dissolving. They turned and left, vanishing into the trees as if waking from a dream. Silence returned, the rain ceased, sunlight streaming through the leaves. Issei stood, the crown dimming to a faint glow. His friends gathered around him, exhausted but triumphant. Ria smiled, tears in her eyes. You did it, Issei, you really are our king. He grinned, embarrassment and pride mingling. Maybe, but I'm not doing this alone. Asia hugged him, Kaneko and Aquino ruffled his hair, Kiba laughed, and even Riaz wrapped him in a quick, fierce embrace. For a moment the world felt safe, the crown was light, not heavy. But as they turned to leave the clearing, Issei felt the throne's eyes on him. He heard the faintest whisper, colder than winter. Find my throne before they do. He shivered, a chill threading down his spine. The game had only just begun. Wind shook the leaves above Q's East Woods as the occult research club Issei, Riaz, Aquino, Kiba, Kaneko, and Asia walked home from the clearing where the celestial throne had appeared. Their clothes were torn, faces bruised, but their spirits were high. The chain bond of power, new and shining, flickered faintly in the space between them. Every step felt lighter. Every glance shared was its own wordless conversation. I could get used to this, Kiba said, spinning his sword so fast it whistled through the air, gleaming with residual golden light. I feel like my swings are smoother, even my balance is better. Kaneko nodded, munching a sweet bean bun as they walked. You're less annoying than usual, too. Aquino giggled, flicking a spark of lightning from fingertip to fingertip. I do believe our king has made us all just a little more dazzling. Issei blushed, rubbing the back of his neck. Hey, don't give me all the credit. The crown just wanted to help, or something. I'm still figuring this out. Ria smiled, pride and worry mixing behind her eyes. You're doing well, Issei, but remember, every king has enemies. The world won't let us rest for long. Her words echoed, chilling in the late afternoon sun. They crossed into the city, the woods thinning into sidewalks and quiet side streets. Asia pressed close to Issei, a shy smile on her lips, occasionally humming a hymn under her breath. Issei found her presence soothing, like a protective charm against the swirling weight of destiny. They were halfway to the school gates when they heard footsteps, deliberate, sharp, closing fast. The group turned as two figures stepped into the street. Both wore the black uniforms of the church's exorcists. One, tall and regal, carried a broadsword at her hip and an aura that radiated absolute confidence. Her blue hair glimmered even in the fading light. The other, smaller and cheerier, with twin pigtails and a bright white Bible clutched to her chest, practically bounced in place, her face shining with open curiosity and a fierce, naive faith. Zenovia, Riaz murmured, and Irina. Issei blinked, recognizing the second girl as his childhood friend, a girl he'd nearly forgotten in the chaos of his new life. Howdo, Issei, Irina waved, all sunshine and sincerity. I found you. Issei gaped, Irina, you're an exorcist. She nodded, her smile bright. Didn't I always say I'd serve the Lord? Zenovia's expression was cold as steel. Enough nostalgia, we are here on official business. She drew her sword, its silver blade glowing with holy power. Riaz stepped forward, aura blazing. You're not welcome here. Zenovia's voice was hard as marble. The church demands the crown be tested. If its bearer is righteous, he will withstand our trial. If not, we will remove the crown by force and cleanse this town of all heresy. Issei's heart pounded. I'm not trying to hurt anyone, can't we just talk? Irina's eyes were sorrowful. Issei, you're our friend, but that thing on your head, it scares heaven. It once crowned tyrants. You have to prove you won't be another. Kaneko bristled, fists tightening. He saved us, he's not a tyrant. Zenovia strode forward, blade humming, then let him stand against the holy sword. Riaz stepped between them, voice thunderous. You will not touch him. But Zenovia's sword was already moving, a blur of sanctified steel. Kiba parried, sparks flying as holy and devil magic clashed. The street vibrated with the echo, glass windows shivering. Irina closed her eyes, murmuring a prayer. Suddenly, light burst from her Bible, forming an angelic blade. She lunged for Issei, but Aquino intercepted with a storm of lightning. Asia ducked behind Kaneko, clutching her rosary. Kiba grinned, sword locked with Zenovia's. You again, let's see if you've improved. Zenovia's eyes narrowed, no more holding back. Their duel was a dance of perfect violence, Kiba's new golden aura making him faster, sharper, more daring, but Zenovia was relentless. She struck with the force of a crusade, her blade singing hymns in the air. Irina and Aquino circled, faith and thunder colliding, both grinning, one with conviction, the other with barely concealed glee. Rias conjured a barrier, crimson energy snapping up as exorcist backup appeared on the distant rooftops. They brought reinforcements, we can't let them separate us. Issei's crown burned, every sense on fire. He saw the web of power binding his friends, the threads of faith and doubt tying the exorcists to their cause. For a moment, he felt every heartbeat in the battle. He didn't want to fight, but he wouldn't let them hurt his friends. He called out, the crown's authority threading his words. This ends now, stand down. The air thickened, magic warping the world for a heartbeat. Even Zenovia staggered, her blade faltering, blue eyes wide. Irina nearly dropped her Bible. Zenovia recovered quickly, gritting her teeth. You really are dangerous. She pressed forward, launching a flurry of strikes. Kiba met her blade for blade, his golden aura flaring, every parry pushing Zenovia back a step. Irina whirled on Issei, eyes pleading. Issei, please, don't make us fight you. Give up the crown, come back to the church where you'll be safe. Issei shook his head, the crown's light softening. I can't, not when it means abandoning everyone who needs me. She hesitated, faith and friendship warring in her gaze. I don't want to lose you. Aquino, seizing the moment, lashed out with a chain of lightning. Irina barely dodged, her blade sizzling in the aftershock. Kaneko barreled into the exorcists at the rear, tossing bodies like ragdolls. Stay away from my senpai. Ria stood at Issei's side, her aura twin-wrapped in his golden chains. You're not alone, we hold the line together. But Zenovia broke through Kiba's guard with a dazzling feint, sword tip inches from Issei's chest. The crown blazed in response, forming a shield of golden chains between them. Zenovia's eyes widened as the sword rebounded, sending a shockwave through the street. Windows shattered, lights flickered, and the exorcist backup hesitated, uncertain. The crown whispered command, test, judge. Issei swallowed. Zenovia, what if I can prove I'm not your enemy? She hesitated, her sword trembling. Show me. Issei opened his mind, letting the crown's chains brush Zenovia's heart. He let her see his memories, saving Asia, sparing Rainier, the pain and hope that defined his days. For a moment, she gasped, eyes wide as she was swept into his past. She stumbled, lowering her blade. You really are different. Irina darted to her friend's side, worry etched across her face. Zenovia. Issei stepped forward, chains withdrawing. I'm not a king who conquers, I'm a king who protects. A voice echoed from behind, and yet all kings bleed. A new figure strode into the light, tall, lean, with silver hair and an easy, dangerous smile. Azazel. The Governor-General of the Fallen Angels swept a glance over the battlefield, his eyes alight with amusement. Well, this is quite the party. Mind if I join? Ria scowled. What do you want? Azazel waved a lazy hand. Just observing, the crown's awakening is big news even among us fallen. He glanced at Issei, eyes sharp. That crown will break you, boy, if you let it, but if you can master it, maybe you'll change everything. Issei glared, fists clenched. I don't want your help. Azazel smirked, didn't say I was offering. Suddenly, the exorcist reinforcements surged, emboldened by the chaos. The peerage formed a circle around Issei, their auras crackling. Zenovia looked at her sword, then at Issei. My orders were to kill you. My conscience says to stand down. I will trust my heart. She sheathed her blade. Irina stepped back, tears glittering in her eyes. Ria smiled, relief breaking through. Thank you. But the battle wasn't over. The reinforcements pushed forward, holy blades flashing. Issei focused, the crown's power burning like wildfire. He summoned chains of light, shielding his friends, disarming attackers, pushing back with the force of command. The others fought at his side, Ria's launching orbs of destruction, Akino's lightning arcing through enemy ranks, Kiba's blade dancing, Kaniko's fists a blur. Asia crouched behind Issei, healing wounds almost as quickly as they formed. Azazel watched, eyes glittering. Not bad at all. At last, the final exorcist fell back, unable to stand against the combined might of the crown peerage. Silence descended, broken only by the heavy breaths of the exhausted fighters. Zenovia stepped forward, offering her hand to Issei. You won today, King, but more challenges will come, be ready. Irina nodded, hope in her gaze. We'll pray for you, Issei, and if you ever need a friend in heaven, I'll be there. They retreated, the exorcists vanishing into the fading light. Azazel strolled forward, his eyes calculating. Impressive, I came to see if the rumors were true. You've changed the game, how do Issei? Riaz bristled, we're not your pawns. Azazel laughed, nobody is, except the ones who let themselves be. He glanced at Issei, serious for a heartbeat. The crown is ancient, dangerous. It has broken every king who thought they could wield it alone, don't be stupid. With that he vanished, leaving only the echo of his warning. The peerage gathered around Issei, battered but victorious. Riaz cupped his face, her eyes fierce and proud. You proved yourself today, not just to them but to us. Akino hugged him from behind, our king growing bolder every day. Kaniko grinned, holding up a bruised fist. You make a good shield, senpai. Kiba clapped his back, we're with you all the way. Asia nestled into his side, quiet but glowing. Thank you for choosing me, Issei. He looked at them all, heart swelling. Maybe the crown was dangerous, maybe the world would never leave him alone. But with friends like these, he'd take on every test, every sword, every crown. In the distance, thunder rumbled, an omen, or maybe just the next storm rolling in. Issei looked up, smiling. Let them come, he whispered, we're ready. The peace after the battle lasted less than a day. By morning, news had spread across Kyoto. An entire squad of exorcists, rooted, the Vatican's prized warriors, Zenovia and Irina, beaten but alive, and the boy in the center of it all, Hyodu Issei, the devil pawn with a crown of golden fire. Issei tried to be normal, he really did, but normality wasn't on the menu. At breakfast, his mom brought him coffee and eggs arranged in a smiley face, bowing just a bit lower than before. At school, the King Hyodu rumors got so bad that even the teachers started bowing in the halls, and Madohama and Matsuda wore paper crowns all day, calling themselves King's Guards. Every time Issei tried to eat lunch, some club president would barge in, offering gifts or tribute. By third period, he was ready to crawl under his desk and never come out. But as the school day dragged on, the crown's voice grew louder, a humming pressure in his skull, buzzing with an ancient need. Every time Issei closed his eyes, he glimpsed flashes of golden thrones, endless armies, and a shadowed figure packing behind iron bars. After school, he staggered into the occult research clubroom. His friends were already there, Riaz with stacks of new grimoires, Akino pouring tea, Kiba and Kaniko in quiet discussion, and Asia beaming shyly at him. Rough day, Riaz asked, a wry smile tugging at her lips. Issei groaned, sinking into his chair. If one more person asks me to knight them, I'm gonna. He caught Asia's worried glance and changed course. I'm gonna run off and join the circus. Akino set a cup in front of him, her touch soft but her eyes searching. Is it the crown again? Issei nodded, pressing the heel of his palm into his brow. It's louder than ever, like it's waiting for something. Kaniko slid a box of cookies toward him. Eat, you'll feel better. He took a bite, the world seemed to settle for a moment, but then the buzzing returned, more urgent, sharper. Riaz glanced at the window. There's been a change in the supernatural wards. Something big just appeared north of the city. Kiba, check it out. Kiba nodded, vanishing in a blur. Issei stared at his hands, watching faint golden chains shimmer and fade. What do you think it is? Riaz was quiet, her gaze distant. Another throne, maybe, or, she trailed off, shivering, or something worse. Minutes later, Kiba reappeared, breathless. I found it, not a throne, more like a tomb. There's an aura there like yours, Issei, only twisted, angry. Issei's heart hammered, the crown pulsed in warning. Face me, face yourself. Riaz stood, her presence a wall of calm. We're going together, no one's facing this alone. They left as a team: Issei, Rias, Kaneko, Aquino, Kiba, and Asia, slipping through backstreets, cloaked by Rias' magic. As they neared the old graveyard on Kyo's outskirts, the sky darkened, clouds swirling above a single ruined mausoleum. The air reeked of old blood and broken vows. Every grave marker was cracked, as if a great weight had pressed down on this place for centuries. At the mausoleum's mouth, a chain of shadows stretched across the entrance, inscribed with ancient runes that burned at Issei's touch. "Only the crown-bearer may enter," Aquino read, her voice tight with worry. Rias reached for his hand. "Be careful, Issei." He squeezed her fingers, drawing strength, then stepped across the threshold. Inside, the world went silent. He walked through corridors of cracked marble, shadows flickering along the walls. The deeper he went, the louder the crown's voice grew, now less a whisper and more a steady chant. He felt watched, measured. At the heart of the mausoleum was a throne of iron and bone. Chains snaked up its legs, winding around a figure slumped on the seat, a man in tattered royal robes, face hidden by a heavy iron mask. Issei approached, the crown above his head flared, illuminating the tomb. The figure's head jerked up, cold, golden eyes burned through the mask. The man's voice boomed, echoing from everywhere and nowhere. "Welcome, usurper. Do you come to kneel or to rule?" Issei gulped. "I don't want either. I just want to protect my friends." The Iron King laughed, a terrible sound. "That's what I said, once." Chains rattled as the king rose, his body crackling with dark power. "I wore the crown, I conquered nations, I protected my people until I became what I hated most." Issei's skin crawled. "What happened to you?" The king's eyes flashed. "The crown is hunger. It offers power, but always at a price. I forgot who I was. My friends became subjects. My love became command. In the end, I chained myself here so no one else would suffer." He raised a hand. The crown on Issei's head pulsed, growing heavy, as if trying to pull him to his knees. "Every king must face the throne. Will you rule or be ruled?" Chains lashed out, wrapping Issei's arms and legs. He struggled, but the tomb's shadows closed in. He heard the king's voice in his mind, whispering doubts and fears. "You crave power, you like how they bow to you. You want to be adored, to be obeyed, admit it." Issei thrashed, mind spinning. Images flashed him atop a throne, friends kneeling, Asia's eyes wide with fear, Ria's smile fading into terror. "No," Issei roared, "I don't want that, I want." He saw Kaneko's steady gaze, Kiba's quiet strength, Aquino's teasing warmth, Ria's fierce loyalty, Asia's unwavering faith. "I want to protect them. I want to walk beside them, not above them." The Iron King's chains tightened. "Words are easy, prove it." The world twisted and Issei was somewhere else, a ruined battlefield. His friends lay defeated at his feet, the sky stained with blood. Atop a mountain of corpses, he wore a golden crown that felt heavier than the world. He heard their voices. "You did this, Issei. You couldn't stop it. You became the monster." He dropped to his knees, despair crushing him. But then a hand reached out, small, warm, and stubborn. "Asia, stand up, Issei. You're not alone." He looked up. Ria stepped forward, her smile gentle. "We believe in you." Kiba and Kaneko stood at his side, swords and fists ready. Aquino flashed him a grin. "Don't keep your harem waiting, king." The vision flickered. Issei stood defiant. "I'm not alone. I have my friends, my family. The crown doesn't rule me. I choose how to use it." The world shattered. He was back in the mausoleum, the chains falling away. The Iron King stared at him, eyes wide. "You broke the cycle." Issei met the king's gaze, tears streaming down his cheeks. "No more chains. I'm not your prisoner. I'm not anyone." The king smiled for the first time, sad and proud. "Then perhaps there's hope. Remember, the crown is a tool, not a master. Rule with love, not fear." His form faded, leaving behind a single golden key. Issei took it, feeling the chains in his mind loosen, the crown's weight lifting just a little. He turned and fled the mausoleum. As he emerged into the dusk, his friends rushed to meet him. Asia threw her arms around him, sobbing with relief. Rias hugged him tight, her power flaring in a protective cocoon. The others pressed close, their support grounding him. "I thought I lost you, king," Aquino whispered, a tear in her eye. "Never," Issei croaked, clutching the key. Rias helped him stand. "What did you see?" Issei squeezed the key, feeling its warmth. An old king, a ghost trapped by the crown's hunger. He tried to break me to make me into him, but you guys pulled me back. I know now I can't let the crown make me forget who I am. Kiba smiled, clapping him on the back. Good, we kind of like the idiot you are. Kaneko nodded, stoic as ever. Stay that way. The group returned home, the key burning like a promise in Issei's pocket. But across town in the ruined church, a new shadow gathered. A pair of red eyes glowed in the darkness, watching Q with hungry malice. A voice like broken glass hissed, "The king awakens and the world will burn." Far above, a second throne appeared on the city's skyline, this one radiating a darkness colder than the grave. The game was changing, and Issei, no longer just a pawn, braced himself for the next test, determined to wear his crown with heart, not fear. The nights after the mausoleum were the hardest. Issei tossed and turned, sweat-soaked, tangled in sheets. In dreams, the Iron King's chains dragged him down, each link forged from fear and doubt. When he tried to run, the crown weighed him to the earth, and his friends' voices called out from a mountain of shadows, sometimes crying for help, sometimes whispering accusations. In those nightmares, Issei would reach for his friends, only to watch them vanish, leaving him alone with the crown's terrible whisper. All kings stand alone. He jerked awake, gasping for breath, clutching the golden key so tightly his knuckles ached. The dawn's first light spilled across his room, and for a moment he thought the worst was over. But then the crown would thrum heavier, colder than before. Its power was still his, but now it felt fractured, as if a piece of him had snapped off and drifted away. He made it to school on autopilot, ignoring the bows and whispers, feeling like a ghost wearing his own skin. Madohama and Matsuda noticed his silence, but just assumed he was lovesick for Rias, throwing in enough jokes to drown his mood for a while. Only in the clubroom, surrounded by the peerage, did Issei feel the full ache of the crown's cost. They saw it too, his eyes rimmed with gold and fatigue, the way he jumped at sudden noises, the way he stared through people as if lost in another world. Rias met his gaze across the chessboard, her own eyes clouded with worry. Issei, you haven't been yourself, whatever you saw in the tomb. He looked away. I'm fine, but you just tired. Kaneko set a carton of strawberry milk in front of him, wordless as always, but her hand lingered, a silent promise that she was there. Akino fussed over him, teasing, but her touch was gentler than ever. You can talk to us, you know. Kiba tried to lighten the mood, tossing a deck of cards onto the table. Winner gets to pick tonight's movie. Loser has to do everyone's laundry for a week. Asia, quiet and watchful, sat beside Issei. Her hands glowed faintly, healing magic seeping into his fingers. She smiled, even as tears brimmed in her eyes. Issei, please let us help. He wanted to answer, to crack a joke or throw out a bold promise, but all that came out was a sigh. Suddenly the crown pulsed, a hard, sharp pain. Issei gripped his head, the world spinning. Protect them, command them, rule them, or lose everything. He staggered to his feet, the clubroom tilting sideways. I need some air. He stumbled into the hallway, bracing himself against the wall. The golden key burned in his pocket. For a second he thought he saw the Iron King's shadow at the end of the corridor, beckoning him forward. He ran. Issei made it outside, collapsing onto the grass beneath a cherry tree. The crown's voice thundered, drowning out the world. You cannot protect them, you cannot lead, you will fail them all. He squeezed his eyes shut, knuckles white in the grass. No, I won't, I caw. In that lonely moment, he heard a second voice, softer, real. Asia knelt beside him, tears on her cheeks, her hands warm on his shoulders. Issei, you're not alone, not now, not ever. He opened his eyes, blinking away tears. The rest of the peerage appeared, gathering around him, Rias kneeling, her aura a crimson shield. Kaneko hugging his side, small but unyielding, Kiba and Akino flanking him, offering a wall of support. You think you're the only one carrying weight? Kiba asked, his voice steady. We're a team, you don't have to do this alone. Akino cupped his cheek, electric warmth flowing into him. We love you, dummy, chains or no chains. Rias pulled him upright, her smile fierce and proud. You're our king, but you're also our friend, that matters more. Kaneko offered him a fresh bun. Eat, or I'll force-feed you. For the first time in days, Issei laughed, a shaky, startled sound. The crown's pressure eased just a little. He wiped his eyes, the golden key cool in his palm. I saw it all in that tomb, what the crown did to him, what it could do to me. I'm scared, I don't want to lose myself. Asia squeezed his hand, her voice firm. Then don't, we'll remind you who you are every day if we have to. The wind rustled, cherry petals swirling around them. Thanks guys, Issei said, really. Just as he started to rise, a shockwave rattled the earth, sirens blared in the distance. In the sky above the city, black clouds twisted, lightning streaking down. The peerage sprang to their feet, battle-ready in a heartbeat. Ria's phone buzzed, she paled as she read the message. A new thrones appeared at the old subway station. The aura is wrong, it's dark, rotten, we have to go. Issei nodded, standing taller than he felt. Let's move. They raced through the city, dodging civilians as the storm built above. The subway entrance was swarmed by panicked crowds and the scent of ozone. At the bottom of the stairs, the darkness was absolute, broken only by a sickly violet glow emanating from a newly appeared throne, this one cracked and wrapped in black chains. Guarding it was a man draped in priest's robes, his face hidden by a porcelain mask. At his feet, half a dozen exorcists lay unconscious or dead, weapons scattered like broken toys. The man's voice echoed, slick and cold. Ah, the crown arrives. Issei bristled, crown sparking to life. The peerage fanned out behind him. The masked priest laughed, a sound that made the air shudder. You broke the king's chains, but you never broke the curse. Every crown leaves a shadow, boy, and I am its hand. He pointed at Issei. Shadows erupted from the throne, slamming into Issei's chest. The world spun, the crown's voice screaming in his skull. Suddenly, Issei stood on a precipice, half his body wreathed in golden light, the other in oily blackness. The masked priest loomed before him, now wearing the Iron King's face, eyes burning with accusation. You cannot rule without falling, you cannot save them all, every king breaks. Issei's golden half fought, lashing out with chains of light, but the blackness dragged him down, warping his memories, showing him visions of his friends dying, the world burning, the peerage kneeling before him in terror. He faltered, the golden light flickering. In the real world, Issei's body staggered, the crown's glow dimming. The peerage watched, horrified, as black chains snaked around him, pulling him toward the throne. Asia screamed, Issei, don't leave us. Ria's unleashed her power, scarlet energy blasting the shadows. Kiba and Akino fought back-to-back against the priest's summoned wraiths. Kaneko punched through the darkness, desperately clawing for her king. But the shadows were endless. Inside the mindscape, Issei teetered at the edge, the Iron King's voice relentless. Let go, accept the crown, rule alone. A familiar warmth flickered in Issei's heart. He saw his friends not kneeling but standing at his side, arms outstretched, refusing to abandon him. He remembered Kaneko's quiet strength, Akino's mischievous courage, Kiba's loyalty, Ria's fierce love, Asia's unwavering faith. He drew on their hope, letting it feed the crown's golden fire. No, Issei whispered, I'm not alone, I never will be. He reached inside, grabbing hold of the golden key, the symbol of his will, his choice. He drove it into the darkness. The Iron King screamed, the Shadow Priest howled, and the black chains shattered. In the real world, a golden explosion rocked the station. The shadows burned away, the priest's mask cracking, falling to the ground. Issei fell to his knees, breath coming in gasps. The peerage rushed to his side, Ria's cradling him in her arms. Asia wept, her healing magic flooding into him. Kaneko pressed a cold can to his cheek. You scared us, senpai. Akino grinned through tears. Don't do that again. Kiba sheathed his sword, eyes shining with relief. You won, you're still you. Issei looked up, the crown's light restored but softer, steadier. Thank you, all of you. Ria's helped him stand, her arms strong around his waist. You faced the darkness and you didn't break. He smiled, weak but real. Guess I'm not such a bad king after all. The city above returned to normal, the storm clouds parting. But as they left the ruined subway, Issei caught a glimpse of the shattered mask. Behind it, for the briefest moment, he saw the Iron King's eyes, watchful, waiting. The curse wasn't fully broken, but with his friends at his side, Issei was ready to fight for his throne and for his heart. The crown would never rule him, not as long as he remembered who he was and who he loved. And in the far-off distance, a dragon's roar echoed, signaling that the next challenge was coming and it would be fiercer than ever. By the time the first rays of dawn touched Q Academy, Issei felt like he'd aged a year. Every muscle ached, but the warmth of his friends lingered, banishing the last dregs of the Shadow King's curse. He woke to sunlight spilling through his curtains and a dozen missed messages from Riaz, Kiba, and Asia, check-ins, memes, and in Kaniko's case an artful photo of a plate of tuna captioned breakfast. Don't die. He replied with a selfie of his bedhead, hair sticking in all directions, face smeared with drool. Kaniko sent back a thumbs-up emoji, followed by king or clown, both work. For once, Issei grinned at the teasing. School was almost normal. Matsuda and Madohama dragged him into their pervert schemes, still calling themselves King's Guards. Issei let them, happy to play the fool for a little while. Even the whispers in the halls felt less ominous, more curious than afraid. But that peace couldn't last, not with the crown, not with the world watching. At lunchtime, Riaz found him on the roof, gazing out at the city. She sat beside him, her long hair tangling with the wind. "How are you really, Issei?" He shrugged, still here, not evil, trying to keep the king complex in check. She nudged his shoulder, her eyes shining. "You don't have to do it alone, you never did." He met her gaze, the weight of everything that had happened, rain air, the tomb, the subway resting between them. "Thanks, Butchu, for everything." Before she could answer, a chill swept the rooftop. The sky darkened, clouds swirling like ink. A ripple of supernatural power shuddered through the air, freezing students mid-step. Issei's crown flared in warning. The club raced to the gym courtyard where the air cracked with pressure. Teachers and students scattered, retreating behind invisible barriers Riaz and Aquino cast on the fly. In the center of the field stood a boy with white hair and eyes like burning mercury, his coat fluttering behind him, a confident smile playing on his lips. Vali Lucifer, the White Dragon Emperor. Behind him, a motley squad of fallen angels and magicians watched, tense and eager. Riaz's face tightened. "Vali." Vali inclined his head, gaze sweeping the peerage. "Good to see you, Riaz. I came for one reason, to meet the new king." His eyes locked with Issei, Hyodo Issei, or should I say the crowned dragon. Issei felt the crown respond, a clash of forces, crimson and gold twisting with blue-white dragon energy. D-Drake stirred in the back of his mind, grumbling. Well, partner, looks like Albion's brat is here to show off." For a split second, Issei wished he could just teleport to another anime, one with less destiny, maybe more ramen. But he stood tall. "If you're here to fight, at least buy me dinner first." Vali grinned. "Clever, but this is more than a brawl. The world wants to know, can the crown stand against the dragon?" A ripple of anticipation swept the crowd. The peerage formed a defensive line, each ready to act at Issei's signal. Vali raised a hand. "Relax, devils, this is between us." Kiba shook his head. "Issei, don't." But Issei stepped forward, crown blazing. "It's fine, let's settle this, dragon to dragon, but if I win, you leave my friends alone." Vali's grin sharpened. "Deal. If you win, you keep your throne. If I win, I take the crown and your secrets." Lightning cracked above as the two squared off. Students peered from behind magical barriers. Even teachers from the church and Fallen were watching now. Vali's armor materialized, gleaming blue-white, scales of power rippling with each breath. Issei's crown shimmered, golden chains encircling his fists and chest, his aura magnified by the faith and will of his peerage. A hush fell. Vali vanished, reappearing behind Issei in a heartbeat, too slow. Issei spun, chains lashing out, catching Vali's strike in a burst of light. The force rocked the field, splintering concrete. Vali laughed, stepping back, blue fire flaring. "Not bad, King, let's see how you handle this." Vali unleashed a wave of dragon energy, swirling spheres of power blasting toward Issei. The crown flared, golden shields erupting to meet the blasts. The two attacks collided, shaking the air, rattling windows for blocks. Issei countered, golden chains snapping outward, one aimed for Vali, another arcing above, slicing through his reinforcements and tying up two Fallen who tried to intervene. Vali's eyes widened as a chain wrapped his arm, but with a flex of dragon force he shattered it. "You're strong, but are you free?" He pressed the attack, jabbing, ducking, weaving, each movement faster, more precise. For every strike, Issei's crown responded, mimicking Vali's speed, countering his power. Around them, the peerage held back attackers, Aquino's lightning-scattering magicians, Kiba dueling with fallen blades, Kaneko throwing a would-be assassin through a goalpost. Asia ducked behind a shield, healing wounds as fast as they came. Ria's watched, torn between awe and fear. They're equal. Aquino grinned even as she blasted another foe. Issei's matching him. He's not just a king, he's learning to be a warrior. The duel intensified, the field a storm of gold and blue. Volley landed a punch, cracking Issei's shoulder. Issei answered with a burst of command, forcing Volley's armor to freeze for a heartbeat. But Volley roared, breaking free, sweeping Issei's legs from under him. Not enough, Volley taunted. Power alone isn't enough, you have to want it. The crown echoed, do you want this? Do you want to rule? Issei pushed himself up, spitting blood. I don't want to rule, I want to protect, that's all. He called on the crown, every memory of his friends, every smile and tear and midnight snack fueling his will. Golden chains erupted, swirling around Volley, pinning him for an instant. Volley's eyes widened. You're using their hearts, their trust. Issei grinned. That's right, I don't fight alone. The chains pulsed with the peerage's power. For a moment, Issei saw Ria's fire, Kiba's blade, Aquino's thunder, Kaneko's strength, Asia's gentle light, all intertwined with his own. Volley laughed, a sound of genuine delight. Good, show me your limit. He exploded in a wave of dragon force, shattering the chains. The blast knocked Issei back, but he rolled to his feet. DxD's voice rumbled, impressed. Now that's a proper rival partner, give him hell. The two clashed again, Volley's fist against Issei's golden gauntlet. The shockwave toppled the gym's goalposts and sent half the magicians flying. But Issei refused to yield. The crown sang in his blood, every ounce of fear burned away by the hope of his friends. He landed a punch that staggered Volley, golden light crackling up the white dragon's arm. Volley's grin never faded. Impressive, but the world isn't kind to kings or dragons. Can you really protect them all? Issei's answer was a roar. I'll try no matter what. With a final burst, he summoned every drop of crown power, wrapping both himself and Volley in a sphere of light. Inside, the world slowed. Volley's eyes were serious now. You could have everything, all the power, all the glory, would you take it? Issei shook his head. Not if it means losing them. I'd rather lose the crown than my friends. Volley closed his eyes, then laughed softly. You're honest, Issei. Hyodu, I respect that. Outside, the sphere burst, sending both fighters flying. Issei crashed into Ria's, who caught him in a shield of red power. Volley landed on his feet, cracking the earth. The battle ended as quickly as it had begun. Volley straightened, dusted off his coat. A draw for now. He fixed Issei with a fierce, almost fond look. But remember this, King, one day you'll have to choose between the crown and your heart. I hope you pick right. He turned to leave, his crew melting into the shadows. Ria's ran to Issei, supporting him as he caught his breath. Are you hurt? He grinned, bruised but unbroken. Just my pride and maybe my spleen. Kaneko handed him a water bottle. Nice punches, King. Aquino winked. You look so cool, Issei. Kiba offered a fist bump, his eyes gleaming. Next time, finish him. Asia clung to his arm, teary and proud. You didn't give up. He looked at his friend's heart swelling. The crown's power pulsed, gentle and warm. Above them, the clouds parted. For a moment, Issei thought he saw two great dragons, one red, one white, circling the sun. He knew the game had changed. The world's eyes were on him now, but he wasn't afraid. Not with his peerage, not with his heart intact. And far away, in a hidden place, an ancient throne shuddered, awakening at last. The true test was yet to come. The echo of Issei's clash with Volley lingered in Kyo like the aftertaste of thunder, a hush where the world tried to figure out what would happen next. For a few hours, the town almost pretended to be normal, but for those who'd witnessed the battle, devil, angel, fallen, human, nothing felt the same. In the occult research clubroom that night, exhaustion hung over the group like a heavy curtain. Ria's bandaged Issei's shoulder, her touch soft but her words firm. You fought like a fool, she scolded, but her eyes shone with pride. Issei grinned, wincing as Aquino dabbed at a cut above his eye. Wasn't planning to lose, not with everyone watching. Kaneko sat on the table, legs swinging, munching on a rice cracker. You make too much noise, senpai. Next time, try winning with less property damage. Kiba chuckled, flipping a stray lock of hair from his face. The fence you crashed through is already trending on Supernatural Twitter, Crown King. Asia sat by Issei's side, her hands glowing with healing light, worry creasing her brow. You're not hurt inside, are you? He shook his head, patting her hand. Not as long as you're around, Asia. The warmth of their friendship was a balm, easing the aches left by the battle. But underneath, a new tension rippled. Everyone knew Volley's words hadn't just been bravado. There was something bigger stirring in the shadows. As night deepened, Riaz turned on the clubroom's ancient TV, switching to a broadcast from the Vatican. The image flickered, grainy and strange, showing priests in full regalia standing before a cathedral, their faces drawn and grave. A reporter's voice translated, shaky with fear. A miracle or a curse has appeared in the holy city. The Pope's inner circle has discovered a stone throne ringed with golden chains and black fire manifesting inside St. Peter's Basilica. Authorities have quarantined the site. Angels and exorcists are converging and a council of war is expected. A chill swept the room. Aquino's usual mischief faded. Another throne, the third. Riaz's fists clenched, and this one is at the very heart of the church. Kiba's face darkened. If they awaken the crown there, the balance will shatter. All-out war could break out between heaven, hell, and the fallen. Issei felt the crown on his head grow heavier, the key in his pocket cold and hard. He remembered the Iron King's warning, Volley's challenge, and the pain of the subway priest's shadows. I can't let that happen, he said quietly. If the thrones wake up everywhere, there'll be nothing left to protect. Asia touched his arm, her voice tiny but fierce. You're not alone, we'll help. Riaz nodded, eyes burning with resolve. We go to the Vatican, we stop this together. The peerage sprang into motion. Kaneko packed snacks. Kiba secured forged passports with a little help from Azazel and a bribe to the Grim Reaper in immigration. Aquino researched holy wards and countercurses. Riaz coordinated with her brother Surzets, who agreed to look the other way if they got caught sneaking into the holy city. Before dawn, they were on a private jet, the crown's light dimmed beneath a glamour spell. Issei clung to the window, fighting nerves and motion sickness as Kyo vanished behind them. The trip was oddly quiet. Even Madohama and Matsuda's texts slowed to a trickle, sensing that their friend was heading somewhere he might not return from. Kaneko handed out rice balls, Kiba checked his sword's edge. Riaz sat beside Issei, her hand resting over his. You're not the only one feeling the pressure, she admitted, but you're the only one who can sit the throne, the only one the crown won't destroy. He swallowed, feeling the crown pulse, as if agreeing and taunting him at once. The jet landed in Rome under cover of clouds. From there they moved like shadows, Asia's prayers masking their auras, Aquino's magic blurring their steps. By nightfall they stood at the edge of St. Peter's Square, watching the chaos from the shadows. Every supernatural faction was there, angels in radiant armor, exorcists with holy blades, fallen with obsidian wings. The air thrummed with fear and anticipation. A tall, silver-haired man approached, his grin both warm and sly. Azazel. Glad you made it, kids. The world's a powder keg and you're the spark, ready for a little divine diplomacy. Riaz raised a brow. You're helping us. Azazel shrugged. Someone has to keep the world from burning. Besides, the church's new leadership is unstable. Issei peered at the cathedral, the throne's pull growing stronger with every heartbeat. How do we get inside? Azazel grinned. Leave that to me. With a snap of his fingers, the group melted into the crowds, Azazel's illusion magic slipping them through barriers, past patrols, and straight to the basilica's side entrance. Inside, the scene was surreal. The grand nave was packed with supernatural elite, angels shining with cold light, priests chanting, warriors with swords drawn and nerves taut as bowstrings. At the center, the throne awaited, taller than the others, its chains tangled in black and gold, its aura radiating hunger and command. The Pope's cardinal stood before it, hand raised in prayer. Let the worthy one ascend, let the next age begin. A shudder went through the gathered crowd. Suddenly, a robed figure pushed to the front, Zenovia, her eyes wide with fear and conviction. She looked directly at Issei. Don't let them do this. The last time a throne awakened in Rome, half the world fell to darkness. Riaz stepped forward, her devil power radiating from beneath a holy glamour. We're stopping this, one way or another. But before anyone could move, a blinding light erupted from the throne. Chains lashed outward, wrapping around priests, angels, and even the Pope himself. Screams echoed off the marble. Issei felt the crown respond, a deep pull yanking him toward the throne's heart. Akino, Kiba, and Kaneko drew weapons, forming a shield around Issei and Asia. Azazel cursed, blasting away a holy knight who lunged at them. "Whatever you're going to do, kid, do it fast." Issei took a breath, feeling the power of his friends flow into him, the hope, the fear, the faith. The crown blazed, and for a heartbeat he saw everything, the lines of fate tying every soul in the room, the hatred and love and desperation burning in every heart. He stepped onto the altar, every chain pulling tighter. The throne's voice roared, "Kneel, obey, ascend." But Issei shook his head, planting his feet. "I'm not here to rule, I'm here to unite." He thrust the golden key into the air, its light blazing like a second sun. The chains recoiled, the throne's voice hissed in pain and hunger. Issei shouted, every word burning with the crown's command. "No more kings, no more chains, we rise together." A wave of gold swept the room, shattering dark magic, freeing those bound by the throne. For a moment, every angel, devil, and human stood together, their chains broken. The throne shrieked, shaking itself apart. The black fire died, the gold chains slithered into dust. The crown on Issei's head pulsed, warm and steady, as if proud. Silence fell. For a heartbeat, the supernatural world held its breath. Then the angels lowered their weapons. The exorcists stood down. Even the fallen hesitated, their leader watching with wary respect. Azazel broke the tension with a low whistle. "Nicely done, Your Majesty." Ria's grinned, stepping to Issei's side. "You did it, you changed the game." Zenovia knelt, but not in submission, she knelt as a friend. "You broke the cycle." Kiba sheathed his sword, Kaneko pocketed a bun, and Akino wiped away a tear. Asia hugged Issei so tight he almost lost his breath. "You saved everyone." Issei felt the crown settle on his brow, not a burden but a blessing. But as they slipped away into the Roman night, the world watched. Somewhere in the darkness, an ancient crownmaker stirred, its eyes fixed on Issei and the friends who'd broken the chain of fate. And in every corner of heaven, hell, and the human world, the legend of the king without a throne began to spread. The bells of St. Peter's rang out over a city trembling on the edge of war. Rome's narrow streets pulsed with supernatural energy as night fell, cloaking Vatican City in shadows deeper than any mortal storm. Patrols of armored angels marched the piazzas. Exorcists haunted every alley, rosaries crackling with power. Fallen agents whispered at the edges of crowds, hunting for any sign of the crown or the peerage. In a borrowed safe house on the city's outskirts, Issei paced while his friends prepared for the night's final gambit. Riaz adjusted her disguise, a black cloak over her uniform, crimson hair tucked into a cap. She worked with Kiba, tracing the infiltration route one last time on a stained city map. Akino double-checked her spells, her laughter softer than usual, every crackle of lightning held in check. Kaneko, impossibly calm, munched a biscotti while slipping blessed bullets into her jacket. Asia kneeled at the room's corner, her hands clasped in prayer, quietly invoking protection for them all. Issei couldn't settle. The crown throbbed above his head like a fever. Each hour brought new whispers, threats, promises, visions. He couldn't tell if they came from the crown or his own swirling doubts. Riaz caught his eye, her tone gentle but commanding. "We only get one shot. Once we're inside, there's no turning back. Azazel's cover won't hold forever." Kiba nodded. "The exorcists have orders to kill or capture anything that doesn't kneel." Akino arched an eyebrow, sparking her fingers. "I'll just have to remind them why thunder is the music of angels." Kaneko finished her cookie deadpan, "And why kittens bite ankles." Asia managed a smile, her eyes never leaving Issei. "We'll stay together, right, no matter what." Issei forced a grin. "We stick together, promise." Riaz drew close, her voice just for him. "Issei, if it comes to a choice, if the crown takes over, you need to fight it. We'll bring you back, whatever it takes." He nodded, but the fear lingered. Would they really be able to save him, or would he become just another tyrant like the kings before? The city clock struck midnight. Azazel slipped in wearing a priest's robe and a devil-may-care smirk. "Time to move, Team Crown, let's go make some holy hell." They split into two teams. Kiba, Akino, and Kaneko would secure the north wing, disabling alarms, creating diversions, keeping the elite squads busy. Riaz, Asia, and Issei would go for the throne chamber, aiming to break the crown's hold before the church could use it to declare a new age. The city seemed to hold its breath as the peerage crossed the invisible lines of the Vatican. Guards patrolled the ancient halls, every marble pillar and golden icon humming with centuries of faith. Asia's prayers veiled their presence, but the closer they drew to the throne, the harder it was to breathe. Riaz whispered, "The crown's power is infecting the whole basilica. Stay sharp." A shudder ran down Issei's spine. Every step he took, the crown's voice grew louder. "Claim your seat, rule the world, or burn it to the ground." They reached the nave. Candles burned in pools of holy oil, filling the air with incense and expectation. At the far end, the third throne pulsed, a seat of stone and gold ringed by black chains and swirling shadows. The air was thick with magic. Cardinals and high priests chanted in Latin, their voices desperate. Standing at the base of the altar was a man in white, eyes empty, face lined with both age and fanatic joy. "The Pope." He turned, robes sweeping the marble. "You came at last, bearer of the crown." Riaz bristled, "We're not here for your coronation." The Pope smiled, and in that moment, Issei realized he wasn't looking at a man anymore, but at a vessel. Something older, colder, had settled into those bones. "Every age has its king," the Pope intoned, "and every king must rule or be ruled. Tonight the world changes." He raised his arms, and the chains of the throne writhed, lashing outward. Cardinals collapsed, their life force draining into the black stone. The angels lining the nave raised swords, but the magic in the room overwhelmed even their radiance. The exorcists fell to their knees, eyes blank. Riaz unleashed a wave of destruction magic, shattering pews and barriers alike. Aquino's lightning sizzled through the darkness. Kiba's swordplay carved a path for Kaniko's brutal fists. But the throne only laughed, each blow feeding its hunger. Asia ran to heal a fallen priest. The chains struck her, but her magic flared, burning them back. Issei saw her light as a beacon, and the crown on his brow blazed, aching to answer the darkness with more power, more command. "Take the throne, bind them, lead." Issei hesitated, torn between the promise of control and the terror of losing himself. Riaz screamed as a chain wrapped her waist, dragging her toward the throne. "Issei, don't listen, we're here for you." The Pope beckoned, his voice a twisted hymn. "Ascend, save them all, or doom them with your hesitation." The air crackled. Issei reached for Riaz, but the chains yanked her away. Asia cried out, fighting to keep a shield around herself. Suddenly, the chamber exploded with fire. Azazel burst through the doors, angelic tech blazing, firing off rounds of silver bullets and anti-magic bombs. "Thought you could have a party without me," he shouted. "Time for a little exorcism, old school." The chaos only deepened. The angels rallied. The exorcists rose, blades out. The Pope's voice crescendoed, the throne's magic warping reality itself. And Issei's crown howled. He fell to his knees, mind spinning, the world blurring around him. The voices of past kings rose up, hundreds of lives, thousands of regrets, all crying out for command, control, salvation. He saw himself upon the throne, golden chains binding his friends, armies marching, worlds bending to his will. He saw Riaz weeping, Asia shattering, his friends broken at his feet. All for peace, all for power. "Choose, rule or lose, there is no third path," he screamed, clutching his head. But through the storm of magic, a new voice reached him, warm, gentle, stubborn as always. "Asia, Issei, remember who you are. We love you, don't give in." Kaniko's voice fierce, "Don't let the crown win, senpai, bite back." Aquino laughing through tears, "Our king is a pervert, but he's ours." Kiba determined, "We follow you, Issei, never above, always beside." And Riaz, her magic blazing, "I choose you, no matter what." The crown's hunger faltered. Issei forced himself to his feet, chains of light swirling around him. He thrust out the golden key, its warmth pulsing with every heartbeat he'd ever shared with his friends. He stepped onto the altar, the Pope's eyes blazed, the throne shrieked, the black chains reaching for his soul. Issei's voice rang out clear and sure. "I am Hyodu Issei, I don't want a throne, I want my friends." He jammed the key into the throne's heart. A wave of power erupted, white and gold, shattering every chain in the room. The angels staggered, priests fell, the Pope collapsed in a heap, the force of the crown's rejection throwing him across the marble. The throne cracked, then crumbled to dust. The chamber fell silent, save for the panting of the peerage and the distant ring of broken bells. Issei collapsed into Ria's arms, the crown flickering but still whole. The peerage rallied around him, Asia healing, Aquino and Kaneko guarding, Kiba holding off the last of the angels. Azazel tipped his hat. "You did it, kid, not bad for a devil with a harem." But as the Vatican's sirens wailed, Issei realized the battle wasn't over. The world would never forget this night. And somewhere in the shivering silence, the true crown maker waited, its eyes fixed on the king who refused to rule. And as Issei leaned into his friend's embrace, he finally understood. Real power wasn't about command. It was about the people you fought for and the family you built along the way. The siege was over, the war for the crown was just beginning. The flight home from Rome was a blur of exhaustion, laughter, and quiet dread. Issei and the peerage slumped in their seats, battered but triumphant. Kiba nursed a cracked rib with devilish pride. Kaneko munched on contraband biscotti with a rare, sleepy smile. Riaz watched the sun rise over the wing with Asia curled against her, both too tired to worry for a few hours. Aquino slid into the seat beside Issei, handing him a bottle of water. "Didn't think I'd live to see a pope get exorcised by a pervert." Issei managed a weak grin. "Add it to the list, I think we're running out of firsts." Azazel, sprawled across 3 seats, just snored louder, muttering about paperwork and how he preferred whiskey to holy water. For a little while, they let themselves believe it was over. But deep down, Issei could feel the crown's energy twisting, no longer just a throb above his head, but a presence in the marrow of his bones. The golden key in his pocket burned with a warning heat. They landed in Kyoto just as the city stirred to life. From the window, Issei watched students bike to school, delivery trucks rumble past, life moving on, untouched by the cosmic chessboard that had just rocked the Vatican. But as the club gathered in the occult research room, it was clear the world hadn't returned to normal. Ria's phone lit up with a dozen encrypted calls. Surzets, Azazel, Michael, all reporting surges of crown energy across the globe. Factions scrambled for allies, old treaties teetered, and everywhere people whispered of the king without a throne. Even at school, the atmosphere had changed. Students still bowed to Issei, but now it was with a mix of awe and fear. Teachers watched him like he might explode into light at any moment. Madohama and Matsuda, ever loyal, started a rumor that Issei was secretly dating the entire student council just to balance the scales. It almost made Issei laugh, almost. But at night, the dreams returned sharper than ever. He wandered endless corridors lined with thrones, each occupied by a shadowy figure. Kings, queens, warlords, even gods. They watched him, some mocking, some mournful, each weighed down by a crown burning with power. Their eyes were his own. Every dream ended the same way, with Issei standing before a mirror throne, the crown maker's silhouette waiting just beyond the glass. "Come, king, see what you truly are." One evening, after another restless sleep, Issei found himself staring at the golden key by his bedside. The peerage had gathered downstairs, debating how to handle the world's unrest. Ria's voice drifted up the stairs, tired, determined. "We can't just keep reacting. If the crown's making new thrones appear, something is pulling the strings. We need answers." Issei clenched the key, feeling the pulse of ancient authority. He heard the crown's call, not the urge to rule, but a whisper of destiny. Face the maker, end the cycle. He slipped out before anyone noticed, following the key's pull through the empty city. The world was hushed, the moon veiled by storm clouds. At the edge of Kyoto, where city became forest, Issei found a clearing ringed with old stones, runes glowing faintly, the air charged with power. And there, in the center, stood a figure, neither man nor woman, wrapped in shifting robes of shadow and gold, their face a mask of glass reflecting every king and tyrant who had ever worn the crown. The crown maker. Issei's breath caught, the crown above his head blazed, chains of light flickering in agitation. The being spoke, its voice a chorus of ages. "You found me, little king, or did I call you here?" Issei squared his shoulders. "You made the crowns, the thrones, why?" The crown maker drifted closer, their form shifting, sometimes a smiling child, sometimes an old crone, sometimes a monstrous king. To test, to reveal. Power corrupts, but it also reveals truth. Only one who can resist the throne deserves the world. Issei shook his head, defiant. "You set people up to fail, to break. That's not a test, it's torture." The crown maker's eyes shimmered. Would you refuse the chance to save everything, to make every wrong right with a word? Issei's crown pulsed, memories flashing, Rhaenyra's tears, Zenovia's faith, Vali's challenge, the Iron King's warning. I don't want to rule the world, I want to save my friends, to give them a future. The crown maker extended a hand. Then sit the final throne, use the crown's power, rewrite the world, no more war, no more sorrow, only peace, if you dare pay the price. A throne of pure glass and gold rose from the ground, pulsing with the hopes and regrets of every king before. Issei felt the crown's pull, gentle but irresistible, promising an end to pain, to loss, to fear. The peerage's voices echoed in his memory, we follow you, always beside. He remembered the pain of the Iron King, the endless cycle of rulers becoming monsters. Issei stepped back, no, I won't take that path, no throne is worth losing myself or the people I love. The crown maker's smile faded, replaced by something ancient and sad. Then your war will never end, your friends will die, you will lose, is that enough for you? Issei grinned, every scar a badge of love. If it means I get to keep them, I'll fight 1,000 wars, and I'll never fight alone. The crown on his brow blazed, its power rising not to crush but to protect. From the darkness at the edge of the clearing, the peerage arrived, Rias, Aquino, Kiba, Kaneko, Asia, each radiating power and resolve. Rias faced the crown maker, her eyes fierce. You're done manipulating us, he's not your pawn, he's ours. Kaneko cracked her knuckles, back off, creep. Aquino's laughter was wild lightning, we're rewriting the story, not the world. Kiba drew his sword, its edge shining with golden light. The era of tyrants ends tonight. Asia pressed close to Issei, her hands glowing. We'll face you together. The crown maker's form flickered, rage and sorrow swirling. Then I will test you all. The final king does not stand alone, prove it. A storm erupted, chains of shadow lashed out, trying to bind the peerage, to force them apart. But the crown's light burst from Issei, his love and friendship fueling a new, unbreakable bond. Golden chains wound around his friends, not as shackles but as lifelines. Each peerage member's power surged, their auras twinning with his, turning the crown's curse into a shield for all. The crown maker attacked, summoning every tyrant, every nightmare, every fear Issei had ever faced. Illusions roared through the clearing, fallen angels, armies, thrones of blood. But together the peerage stood their ground, every attack shattered by their unity. Issei's voice rang out, stronger than ever. We choose each other, not a throne, not a crown, that's our power. The crown maker screamed, their form fracturing, the glass mask splintering. Then break the cycle, make your own future. A wave of energy blasted through the clearing, bright as dawn, fierce as the hope of the living. The thrones shattered across the world, their chains turning to dust. The crown on Issei's brow faded to a gentle halo, its hunger at last sated. The crownmaker vanished, their final whisper lost on the wind. Remember, every king leaves a legacy, make yours worthy. Silence settled, the night sky above Kyoto was full of stars. Issei slumped exhausted into the arms of his friends. Asia hugged him tight, Kaneko ruffled his hair, Kiba and Aquino laughed through tears, and Rias pressed her forehead to his. You did it, Issei, you really did. He managed a tired smile. I just followed my heart, the rest was all of you. As dawn rose, the world felt lighter. Factions across the earth watched in awe and, for the first time, in hope. The king without a throne had ended the crownmaker's game. But as the peerage returned home, hearts full, Issei knew their story wasn't over. The world was changing and the era of old kings had ended. Now at last it was time to build something new. The days after the crownmaker's defeat unfolded like a long-held breath. For once, Kyoto felt like a town free of shadow and prophecy. The thrones were gone, their chains turned to dust, and the crown on Issei's brow had faded to a gentle glow, more blessing than burden. But peace is a tricky thing. In its absence, the world is desperate for it. When it comes, everyone's too suspicious to trust it. The supernatural community reacted to the shattering of the thrones like a hive disturbed. Angels and devils scrambled to reassess alliances, the church rushed to rewrite centuries of prophecy, and even the fallen stopped bickering long enough to send envoys. Every day, Ria's phone buzzed with new messages from Surzets and Sona, all ending with the same breathless question, what now? The answer was never simple. Some called for Issei to be crowned king of a new era, some wanted him exiled. Others, fearing change more than tyranny, wanted things to return to how they'd always been. Issei tried not to care about politics, but it was hard to ignore the delegation that arrived at Kyu's gates before first period one morning. 2 angels, an exorcist, and to Issei's disbelief, Sergeorg Bale, Gremory family rival, muscles bigger than Issei's dreams, and now apparently a special envoy for supernatural unity. They all wore formal uniforms. Sergeorg even brought a sash. Issei was still in his pajamas, holding a piece of toast when they found him. "Hyodo Issei," Sergeorg said, bowing deeply, "on behalf of the 3 factions, I'm here to invite you to a council of peace. Or, if you refuse, at least a pretty good brawl." Issei blinked. "Can I finish breakfast first?" One angel, blonde, beaming, nodded solemnly. A wise king always starts with a full stomach. Kaneko appeared behind Issei, unimpressed. "You're not here for breakfast," and he's not wearing the crown anymore. The exorcist glanced at Issei, uncertainty in his eyes. "The world's changed, Hyodo. Some say you're a messiah, some say you're a mistake, but everyone wants to know, what do you plan to do?" Issei stared at his toast. The crown's echo lingered in his heart, not a command, but a promise. He remembered the crown maker's last words, "Every king leaves a legacy. Make yours worthy." He looked up, resolve burning brighter than ever. "I plan to be a good friend, that's all. No king, no throne, just to me." Sergeorg grinned, slapping Issei's back with enough force to rattle his teeth. "That's the best answer I've heard all week." The peerage arrived, forming up behind Issei. Ria's regal in her cute uniform, Kiba sharp-eyed and steady, Akino all mischief and lightning, Asia shining with hope, Kaneko stoic as always. The angel bowed. "The council meets at sunset. We hope you'll attend, not as a king, but as the boy who changed everything." Issei nodded. "We'll be there, but first school. No peace without passing grades, right?" That got a laugh, breaking the tension. As the delegation left, Ria squeezed Issei's hand. "You know, there's no rule against being both king and goofball." He blushed, shrugging. "I'll settle for being a legend in math class." The council met at an ancient shrine on the city's edge, under the gaze of gods long forgot. The peerage arrived as the sun set, painting the world in gold and crimson. Waiting for them were representatives from every major faction: Michael and Gabriel for heaven, Surzech and Grafia for the devils, Azazel for the fallen, Sergeorg and Sona for the young devils, even Vali smirking in the back, arms crossed. All eyes turned to Issei as he entered, the weight of a world's expectation pressing on him like the crown's shadow. For a moment, he faltered until he felt a gentle squeeze on his hand. Asia smiling up at him and Kaneko quietly offering a protein bar. Riaz whispered, "Remember, no one here is your master, not even me." He nodded, heart steady. The meeting began with formal speeches, talk of treaties, new rules for supernatural duels, limits on sacred gear experiments, even a ban on forcibly crowning new kings. Gabriel's voice was soft, Michael's firm, Surzech's charming, Azazel's dangerously funny. But the real question hung in the air: who would lead the new world? Would Issei accept the throne everyone wanted for him? Vali, never one for subtlety, called him out. "Come on, Red Dragon, you broke the thrones. You're the only one who ever walked away, if not you who?" Issei smiled, glancing around the circle. He saw warriors, scholars, children, and legends, each waiting for someone to save them. He remembered the faces of his friends, the lessons learned in blood and laughter. "I broke the thrones," he said, "but I didn't do it alone. I'm not a king. I'm just the guy who got lucky enough to have people who'd fight for him. My power, whatever's left, is theirs, not mine. If we want a world that's different, we all have to build it together." Silence followed, then applause, hesitant at first, then rising like thunder. Michael approached, offering Issei a simple silver medallion. "Then let this be your badge, not of rule, but of hope. When the world forgets, let them remember Hyodo Issei, the king who chose not to rule." Ria smiled, proud tears in her eyes. "That's my Issei." Asia hugged him, whispering, "You're the best king in the world, even without a crown." Kiba laughed, "Can't wait to see the look on your teachers' faces when you put Savior of 3 factions on your college application." Akino flashed a peace sign. "Still, you'll always be our king, pervert or not." Kaneko deadpanned, "Don't let it go to your head, senpai." Even Vali gave a grudging nod. "Not bad, Hyodo, try not to get boring." Issei looked around, heart bursting with pride, relief, and something softer, hope. But peace never comes without one last test. As the council broke up, a ripple of power sliced through the night. A dozen cloaked figures appeared at the shrine's edge, rogue magicians, enraged exorcists, and fallen who'd refused Azazel's peace. Their leader, a man crowned with jagged silver, raised a sword crackling with dark light. "Down with false kings," he roared, "let the world burn." The peerage snapped into action. Kiba and Aquino flanked Issei, Riaz raised a barrier, Asia began a healing chant, Kaneko readied her fists. Issei stepped forward, no longer afraid. The rogue leader lunged, blade aimed at Issei's heart. In that instant, the crown's echo surged, not as power but as memory, every lesson, every scar, every laugh, every time his friends had risked everything for him. He didn't summon a crown, he didn't command or order. He met the blow head-on, catching the sword with bare hands, golden light flaring from his grip, not the crown's hunger, but the love that bound him to his friends. Behind him, the peerage's power sang, Aquino's lightning, Kiba's blade, Kaneko's fists, Ria's crimson fire, Asia's healing light. The council joined in, Michael's blessing, Surzech's magic, Azazel's shadow, even Vali's dragon force. The rogue magicians faltered, their courage broken by unity stronger than any throne. Issei spoke, his voice carrying over the chaos. "No more kings, no more tyrants, we protect each other, that's what a real legacy looks like." The last of the darkness shattered, the leader's sword breaking in Issei's hands. He fell to his knees, defeated, the crowd silent. For a moment all was still. Then Gabriel smiled, Michael nodded, Azazel cheered, and the world knew that a new era had begun. Issei stood surrounded by his friends, the peerage and the world's mightiest watching, and realized maybe being a king without a throne was exactly what the world needed. He laughed, turning to his friends, "Can we go home now? I think I left the rice cooker on." Riaz groaned, Kaneko rolled her eyes, Aquino laughed, Kiba saluted, Asia hugged him, and Vali smirked. As they walked into the night, peace at last within reach, Issei felt the crown's echo, gentle, approving, and proud. And for the first time, he truly believed the future belonged not to kings but to friends who chose each other again and again, no matter the odds. In the weeks that followed the council at Kyo's ancient shrine, the supernatural world reshaped itself around new truths. Angels, devils, fallen, and humans cautiously shared information, swapped rumors, and in some cases exchanged recipes, courtesy of Kaneko's insistence that peace is easier with good snacks. For the first time in centuries, there was no king, no single authority forcing others to bow or fight. The thrones were dust, the world's old wounds exposed but healing, and yet the future felt stranger than ever. Issei had become a legend, whether he liked it or not. Posters of his king without a throne speech circulated through the underworld and heaven alike. Schoolwork, meanwhile, became harder to dodge. Sona doubled his assignments, grumbling about responsibility, while Matsuda and Madohama asked for advice on becoming irresistible to angels. The Occult Research Club's HQ became a kind of peace summit and after-school cafe. One afternoon, Issei found himself drinking tea beside Zenovia, Irina, and even Rainier, now a penitent, quietly seeking redemption in Kyo's church. "I still can't believe it," Rainier whispered, staring into her cup. "All my life I fought for a cause, now the cause is gone." Irina beamed, always the optimist. "You get to choose now, that's the best part." Zenovia nodded, "The church has changed, we're working with devils, not hunting them. Michael says it's a new age, and you're the reason, Issei." He scratched his head, embarrassed. "Honestly, I just wanted to keep my friends safe. All the king stuff, it still feels weird." Riaz swept into the room, her presence magnetic as ever. "You're more than a symbol, Issei. You showed people that true strength isn't about control, it's about trust." Aquino poured more tea, flashing her signature smile, "And maybe a little about lightning." Kaneko silently offered a plate of scones to Rainier, who blinked in surprise before smiling shyly. "Thank you." Kiba, polishing his sword at the window, chimed in, "I've never seen so many peace treaties signed in 1 week. Surzech looks 10 years younger." Asia joined Issei, her smile gentle and proud. "Everyone's finding their place, even me." He glanced at her, memories of battle and heartache flickering by. "Asia, you've always had a place, right here." He tapped his chest over his heart. She blushed, happiness shining in her eyes. Despite peace, not everyone adapted easily. Rumors of rogue factions, old resentments, and even underground throne cults reached Kyoto. One evening, Rias and Issei attended a summit hosted by Sona in the school auditorium. Representatives from all factions debated new rules for supernatural duels, trade, and, surprisingly, supernatural dating. Love is a battlefield, Sona declared, wielding her clipboard with the authority of a general. Azazel, sipping sake in the back, added, "At least now no one's trying to use a crown to win a date." Vali arrived late, smirking, "Speak for yourself, some of us are winning hearts with sheer style." Kaneko snorted, unimpressed. As the summit wore on, Issei found himself in the hallway, staring out at the setting sun. A familiar presence joined him, Rias, radiant in the golden light. She leaned against the railing. "What are you thinking, Issei?" He hesitated, searching for words. "I'm happy, I think, but I'm scared too. What if this peace doesn't last? What if the world just falls back into old habits?" Rias considered this, then smiled. "You changed the rules, Issei. You gave everyone a choice, that's all anyone can do." He nodded. "I just don't want to let anyone down, not after everything we've been through." Rias took his hand, warmth flowing between them. "You won't, because you don't have to carry it alone." Down the hall, Asia waved, calling them back. Kiba's challenging Vali to a chess match with Kaneko's scones as the prize. It's chaos. Rias laughed, pulling Issei with her. "Come on, King, time to defend your club's honor." For a few precious hours, the club was just a club again. Chess matches, laughter, scones, and tea, the world's burdens kept at bay by the bonds they'd forged. But legacy is more than just what you leave behind. It's what you choose every day. A week later, a new crisis stirred, reports of a Shadow Crown cult rising in a distant city. Ex-devils and rogue magicians, seeking the power of the lost thrones, threatened to plunge the world back into war. Rias assembled the peerage for a mission, no longer as a rescue squad, but as guardians of a world learning to stand on its own. "Are we ready?" she asked, eyes shining. Akino crackled her knuckles, ready to remind them why you don't mess with peace. Kiba drew his sword, smirking, "Just like old times." Asia whispered, "I'll heal everyone, no one gets left behind." Kaneko, mouth full of protein bar, nodded, "I'll punch anyone who says otherwise." Issei grinned, Crown's memory a gentle warmth in his chest. "Let's show the world that a legacy isn't just a story, it's a choice, every day." The peerage set out together, facing the future with hope and courage. That night, after the dust settled and the Shadow Crown cult was rooted with almost comical ease, "You expected a king, you got Issei," the leader muttered, dazed by Kaneko's punches. Issei found himself back on Kyoto's roof, gazing at the stars. He felt Rias sit beside him, her presence always steady. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked, "the power, the command." He thought for a long moment, watching the night sky. "No, not really. I think I finally get it. I never needed a crown, I just needed the right people. The real legacy is us." She smiled, linking her fingers with his. "Good answer, Hyodo Issei. The best king is the one who never wanted to be." He laughed, letting the breeze carry away his doubts. As the stars burned bright, the king without a throne looked to the future, not alone but with his friends, his family, his heart, and the promise that peace, while never perfect, was worth fighting for. And for the first time in memory, the world agreed. It began, as so many things did for Issei, with breakfast chaos. The Hyodo household was filled with the aroma of pancakes, the crackle of the radio, and the thunder of footsteps as Issei's mom chased his dad for daring to taste the syrup before anyone else. Issei grinned, flipping an extra pancake for Asia, who, now basically a part of the family, was a regular at the table, her laughter like a bell. Kaneko nibbled at the fruit bowl, staring at the stack of pancakes with a professional's respect. Fluffy, perfect technique. Rias and Akino arrived together, red and violet hair shining in the morning light. Rias sat next to Issei, giving him a look that was equal parts "good morning" and "I love you, but I'll also fight you for the last pancake." Kiba strolled in last, wearing sunglasses and carrying a tabloid with Issei's face on the cover, Kyoto's King of Peace, the boy who said no to destiny. "Autograph," he teased. Issei rolled his eyes, signing it with a flourish that ended up more like a cartoon dragon. Breakfast was lively, but underneath, the air was different. The world's tensions had eased. News feeds showed images of angels and devils helping rebuild together in Rome. Fallen worked alongside priests to restore libraries. Sona even sent a message saying that supernatural students could apply for official peacekeeper status, no thrones, no kings, just students who wanted to make a difference. But as Issei finished his meal, the familiar warmth of the crown pulsed in his chest, a memory, not a command. He slipped outside, letting the chilly air wake him. The garden was bright with new flowers. Asia and his mom's project. Riaz joined him, hands in her jacket pockets. "Big day," she murmured. "Feels like it," Issei exhaled, breath clouding. "Everyone keeps asking what I want now. I barely know what I want for lunch." She smiled. Maybe that's what peace is, the freedom to choose, to just be. Before Issei could answer, a ripple of power prickled the air. The sky shimmered. At the end of the path, a familiar figure materialized, Vali, leaning against the fence, arms crossed. "Don't look so surprised," Vali said, smirking. "I come bearing gifts." He tossed Issei a gleaming crystal, pulsing with magic. "From Azazel, it's a gate crystal, opens a path to anywhere provided you don't try to conquer it." Kaneko and Kiba joined them, curious. Akino peeked over Ria's shoulder, her eyes alight. Vali's smirk softened. "The world's quiet now, but it's also wounded. You changed the rules, Hyodu, but some scars don't heal overnight. Azazel says it's time to see what kind of legacy you'll leave." Asia ran up, hugging Issei's arm. "Wherever you go, I'm coming too." He grinned. "Wouldn't dream of going without you." Ria squeezed his hand, and the others closed in, a circle of friends stronger than any army. The peerage spent the next weeks using the gate crystal to visit cities torn by the throne's legacy. In Rome, they helped repair the basilica, Issei refusing every formal title just to volunteer, he'd say, waving away the priests. In Cairo, they brokered a peace between a rogue fallen clan and local magicians, with Kaneko settling disputes over sweets. In Kyoto, Riaz and Akino oversaw the signing of a No More Crowns compact, with Kiba charming diplomats and Asia healing children in the market square. Issei realized that peace wasn't a wave, it was 1,000 small ripples. Every act, every laugh, every moment of kindness made a difference. He learned that leadership was less about orders and more about trust. He didn't need a crown to inspire people, he just needed to show up, to care, to be himself. The hardest visit was the last, the old mausoleum where the Iron King's spirit had once tested him. The place was still, overgrown with wildflowers, the stones weathered and soft. Issei knelt, laying the golden key at the empty throne. "Rest, old king, I think we're all finally free." He stood, feeling the last weight lift from his heart. The peerage joined him, quiet and reverent, and together they promised, "No more chains, no more tyrants, just us." They returned to Kyoto on a warm spring night. The school festival buzzed with energy, students and supernatural dignitaries mingled, trading stories and sweets. Issei wandered the stalls with Riaz, sharing takoyaki and memories. In a quiet moment beneath the cherry blossoms, Riaz turned to him, her eyes shining. "Do you ever regret it, walking away from the crown?" He shook his head. "Not once. I'd pick this, us, this life, these choices every time." She leaned in, brushing his cheek with a kiss. "Good, because you're the king of my heart, even without a throne." He blushed, heart thundering. "I'm just happy you're here to remind me." She laughed, her joy ringing like music. As night deepened, the club gathered on the roof for one last celebration. Matsuda and Madohama set off fireworks, nearly lighting themselves on fire. Kaneko doled out snacks, Akino and Kiba bickered over karaoke, Asia watched the stars, and Riaz leaned into Issei's side, their fingers intertwined. They talked about dreams, Kiba's plans to teach swordsmanship, Kaneko's goal of opening a bakery, Asia's hope to heal people all over the world, Akino's vision of a world where no one had to be afraid. Riaz whispered that she wanted a future full of choices, not fate. Issei listened, realizing for the first time that his own dream wasn't power, glory, or even peace. It was simply to walk this road with his friends, to choose, to love, and to never let go. He stood, raising a glass of soda, voice carrying over the rooftop. "To all of us, the real legacy, not kings or crowns, but friends. May the world always be worth choosing together." The peerage cheered, laughter rising into the night, the world below peaceful at last. And as the last firework burst in the sky, the gentle glow of the crown flickered one last time on Issei's brow, a symbol not of rule, but of hope, of family, and of a world remade by choice. Whatever came next, Issei knew he wouldn't face it alone, not as a king, but as himself. And in the end, that was the only legacy that mattered. A year had passed since the world's last king refused his throne. Kyoto Academy was still standing, though now its library contained more supernatural peace treaties than textbooks. The Occult Research Club's room was as cluttered as ever, home to laughter, sword practice, baking experiments, and the world's most diverse circle of friends. Issei found himself standing at the gates as the cherry blossoms fell, watching a new batch of first-years gawk at the imposing school and whisper rumors about the legendary king who turned down destiny. Madohama and Matsuda, both somehow still single, tried and failed to impress a group of transfer students with tales of their heroic pervert leader. Life had settled into a rhythm: classes, club meetings, the occasional save-the-world mission, and plenty of time for friends. Haniko opened her bakery, Asia began training under heaven's best healers, Kiba traveled as a sword instructor, and Akino split her time between the club and the Lightning Wielders Academy. Ria, as a student council president, was busier than ever, but never too busy to drag Issei to karaoke or out under the stars just to talk. One evening, Issei sat with Rias on the roof, legs dangling over the edge, the city glowing below. "Did you ever think it would turn out like this?" he asked, watching a meteor streak overhead. Rias smiled, eyes sparkling. "Honestly, I hoped, but I never believed anyone could change the world just by being true to themselves. You proved me wrong." He grinned, a little embarrassed. "Guess I just got lucky with you, with all of you." She leaned in, resting her head on his shoulder. "No king, no throne, just Issei Hyodu, that's more than enough." A breeze stirred the trees below, carrying the sound of distant laughter and music, life going on, ordinary and extraordinary at once. As the stars spun overhead, Issei made a quiet promise: no matter what came next, he'd keep choosing his friends, his family, his future, not for a crown, not for destiny, but because it was right. Somewhere out beyond Kyoto, new adventures waited. Old enemies would become new friends, challenges would rise. But Issei smiled, knowing he was ready. The king without a throne walked into the future, hand in hand with the people he loved, and with a world worth fighting for, one choice at a time. And, or maybe to be continued. And that's a wrap on today's story, What If Issei Had Heavenly Crown Gear. I hope you enjoyed listening as much as I enjoyed creating this alternate take on the world of high school DxD. If you did, smash that like button, drop your thoughts or your own what-if ideas in the comments. And subscribe to Ethereal so you never miss a new episode. Your support means everything and helps bring these stories to even more DxD fans around the world. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay fired up, stay ethereal. I'll see you in the next one. Oppai Dragon out.